We're live.
Parfait. Bonsoir tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first meeting of December 2020. I'll ask members of council to please call out their names for the roll call.
Mike Ternowski, présent.
André Brisson, présent.
Jamie Lauren here.
Cindy Saucier here.
Perfect. And myself. Nick Graffiard est ici aussi.
Oui, bonjour, bonsoir, monsieur le maire, je suis ici, Joanne Camiri-Laflamme.
Parfait, merci beaucoup, Joanne. Alors, item 2 et 3, on ne le fait pas quand c'est virtuel. Number 4, we have a few different items tonight. The first item will be one, we're going to be separating the bylaw 2020-143 out of all the consent ones. Number 2, under item 11W, Monsieur Bourgon will be presenting a verbal report on the boil water advisory that came in late on Friday. Under 18B, myself, just in regards to a Kin Club contest event benefiting the food bank. Item 4, we're removing the report on transit, and we're going to push it back to the following meeting in December. We were just advised, staff got some information within the last half hour that the provinces or the federal or combination both are going to be coming out with some transit funding announcements, and we want to make sure we have an opportunity to hear those so we get the full picture when we decide on the future of Russell Transit. And item 18C will be conseil Brisson in regards to the park and ride at the 417. Was there anything else, members of council? Tad? Okay, hearing seeing none, we'll go to item 5, adoption of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda as amended. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ternowski, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor?
Mike Ternowski, oui.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, oui.
Parfait, merci beaucoup. Item 6, déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire. Hearing, seeing none. Numéro 7, l'adoption des procès-verbaux. Procès verbal de la séance ordinaire du Conseil 16 novembre 2020. Motion d'approuver le procès-verbal tel que présenté. J'ai besoin d'un proposeur puis un appuyeur, s'il vous plaît. Proposé, conseiller Ternowski, seconded by conseiller Brisson. Questions on the... None? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Mike Ternowski, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Perfect. The minutes have been adopted. Item 8, presentations, we have none. Delegations, we have none. Item 10, consent items. Motion that all items listed under consent items be received as presented. A, minutes of the Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee of September 29, 2020. B, minutes of the Township of Russell Public Library Board of October 15th, 2020. And C, minutes of the Russell Historical Society October 14th, 2020. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Conseiller Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Brisson. All those in favor?
Mike Ternowski, oui.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Perfect, thank you very much. We're going into section 11, reports from departments and council committees. Before we start, I just want to advise those watching on the web, if you have any questions, and the questions have to be related to items that are on the agenda, you can post them in the question box at this point in time, and when we get to that section of the agenda, then we'll be able to address it. It'll just save you typing it out in a rush at the very last minute when we get to question period. So, je vous invite, si vous avez des questions, vous pouvez les mettre dans la section de questions à ce point-ci. Puis quand on va tout tard à l'ordre du jour, on va être capable d'avoir vos questions de prête pour adresser. So the first one is a big one for us. It is the Recreation Complex Report PR 23-2020. And I'll just read it out and then we'll go with staff presentation. So it reads out that The council receives report PR 23-2020 dated December 7th, 2020. And 1, approves the Recreation Implementation Plan, Appendix B. 2, approves phases 1 and 2 budget, Appendix C. And 3, grants an exemption to the purchasing policy to award the project management, design, and functional programming for phases 1 and 2 to Colliers project leaders. And 4, agrees to include a library as proposed in the implementation plan included in this report. So, Monsieur Le Duc, Madame Guittard, I'll let you start it off. This is something long time coming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So yes, it is a long-awaited report. So tonight, the way we would like to present this to you, I can just go briefly at the start of my report, and then I will give the floor to Mr. Michael Paul, Vice President of Colliers, who will make the presentation, and then we could come back and add some financial comments to that report, and then probably do the conclusion with the help of the Director General, Mr. Jean Leduc, and myself. So without any delay,
I start that, Madame Guittard, excuse, Councillor Lorrain, you had a question before we start off?
Sorry, if we plan on projecting, and I think we were projecting as you were going, the live circle is not around what we see on the screen, so I don't believe the public are seeing the actual agenda as we're going, and therefore I don't know if they'll be seeing anything else. So I just wanted to make sure that we were including the live projection of the actual document on the screen as well as the member speaking.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Councillor Lorrain. We'll make sure to try and coordinate that properly. Okay, merci beaucoup. Madame Guittard, allez-y.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. So if council will recall, we had presented a report back in August 2019 from Collier and N45 about the recreation complex, and on that specific night we had also heard that the province and / federal governments were making possible a grant for infrastructure. We came back in September awarding the grant application process to Collier to help us out with the application. Unfortunately, we heard early July 2020 that we were not eligible for the grant. We were eligible, sorry, but we were, the answer came back negative. So during the working budget sessions this year of 2020 for council for budget 2021, the council approved an additional 1% tax increase, which represented $132,000 and $980 to be developed towards a recreation complex. This also meant that we had a surplus amount of $527,000 because every work that is done on that site is DC eligible, which is development charges. So in that work, the council had approved the installation of a accessible park, some tennis courts, and some basketball courts. So after that, the administration also would like to include in that report that we are presenting tonight the addition of the library component. And the phase 1 would address the design and construction of the tennis, the basketball course, and the accessible play structures and the snow hill. So we're hoping in 2021 to be able to complete all that work, except maybe for the snow hill, because we have to wait for the snow dump project to be completed, because we're going to be probably using the fill from that project. Without any further delay, I would like to maybe present Mr. Michael Paul, who is the Vice President of Colliers, who prepared a whole report tonight to present you phase 1 and phase 2 that we would like to have completed probably by July 2021. So, Mr. Colliers, you have the floor.
Thank you, Céline. So I'm just going to try to share my screen here just to make sure that works.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
You can see? Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Collier's.
Our tech side will just make sure that that's the live feed that's on the for the website. Perfect. Thank you.
We're good? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me today. So I've been involved with the rec complex, it seems like for several years now, part of the presentation previous to council on this. So the objectives of the last couple of months was to get a path forward for the ultimate rec complex and find some ways to make some decision points for council along the way. We want to show progression of the site plan to you tonight, which is part of the report, and to show what the cost of that construction of the basketball courts, the 2 tennis courts, and an accessible playground would be. We're calling that phase 1. And then what the cost would be to complete the functional programming for the entire facility, which will include multiple components, which I'll get into in a second once we see the site plan, and we're calling that phase 2. We have 2 versions of a site plan, and I'll emphasize that these are draft. They're just a further iteration of the site plans that were previously submitted to council. They will be. We've had I'll call it a pre-preliminary meeting with the planning department to gain a little bit of input, but we are planning to, as part of the phase 1 and phase 2 work, to have formal site plan process with the municipal planning department to gain their formal feedback. In this, you will see the multi-purpose building. We've sized it such that it has enough room to have the theater that was previously discussed, a aquatic center with multiple a pool, the library that we've just added in, and it has enough room for 1 to 3 rinks within that building. So it's sized approximately what that would be to accommodate those facilities. We've shown the Snow Hill location, which, as noted, would need to have fill from the snow storage facility that would be constructed to move over. And in the green, you'll see that we have the tennis courts, the basketball courts, and the accessible play area identified. And this would be what we're referring to as phase 1. Also, as part of phase 1, we would need to add a little bit of parking to accommodate planning requirements, and of course have somewhere for people to park. Currently there's some parking, as you know, but this full parking lot to the right of the play area is not yet constructed, and the full construction would be part of the ultimate recreation facility construction. On the next diagram, so this is an alternate version of it, where there's been some discussion about putting the building a little bit more in the forefront as you come in off of Notre Dame. And so we've shown an arrangement of what that might look like, and to show parking in the background. There's some advantages to that, having the parking duplicated for the soccer fields and in the future. But we do want to analyze the traffic control of that, because when you have a big facility like this, you want to have smooth traffic in and out, especially if it's a tournament or a bigger event. So we're going to be reviewing that over the next few months as part of phase 1 and 2 to understand what the best planning approach is to meet planning requirements, and what would be practical for the purposes of this facility. On this diagram, this is what we've prepared to show the implementation of the ultimate recreation complex. On the top, you'll see the timeline, rough timeline, Q1, quarter 1, 2, 3 through 2021. The boxes represent different activities that are happening, and the dark blue diamonds are council approval points. So you'll see we have multiple points of approval for council throughout the next year and beyond for this facility. So this isn't the last stop for it, but what we are asking for today is as noted, was the approval of phase 1 and phase 2. The phase 1, which is the tennis courts, accessible park, and the design only the snow hill, will have a design phase. They go through a tendering process to have competitive tenders. That tender results would come back to council for approval. Once that was approved, the construction would start, and we're conservatively showing a completion in sometime in September, October at the latest for those facilities. The phase 2, which is the master plan. So this is, we call it the functional program. So this is really getting into some of the details of what is in each of these facilities. So what does a change room look like in the aquatic center? What does a meeting room look like in the library? And going through that engagement with the community and with user groups. So we would be holding interviews with different user groups, the library, any users of the library, user groups of the library, minor hockey, swimming groups, that kind of thing, so that we can get an understanding of how they would use the facility. We would bring some of that back, and we would come to also to the public to gain their input into the ultimate facility. We're planning 2 consultations with the public throughout the process in early 2021, and we would have that first initial discussion, and then we would go back, produce some documentation and design, and then come back to the public with presenting that and gaining some further feedback. Ultimately, out of this, what we'd like to get is what we're calling a la carte pricing. So we would be pricing each component of the facility, the library, the theater, each arena pad, the pool, all separately, to be able to present to council to make a decision. We would include with those estimates an estimate of the operational costs per component. And at that point, we're looking for around in the 3rd quarter, sometime this summer or next summer, would be council to make a decision on what components would go into the ultimate recreation, or what components would be proceeded first for the recreation complex. That's what we're calling phase 3. So phase 3 would be only those components that council decides on in 2021. That we would also be outlining with consultation with the municipal staff what the municipality could afford. So say that was $25 million, we would be trying to figure out which components could we build within the $25 million. Then for the remainder of 2021, we would be proceeding with those components only. What we're aiming towards, you can see the diamond in 2022, we're really aiming towards getting an award of a contract to design and construct the facility in early enough in 2022 so that it doesn't affect any of the election that would happen later in 2022. That would allow that phase of the project to proceed. We haven't given the exact timeline of what the design and construction of that would be, because it would depend on the number of components that you decide on at this point in Q3 2021. If it was one component, it'd be a lot shorter. If it was 6 components, for example, that would take a lot longer to design and construct. So once we get that nailed down, we could nail down those timelines. And then we've just shown for illustrative purposes phase 4, which would be at council's decision on what other components that weren't part of phase 3 would be included. We've shown here at a high level and in the report are more details on the cost estimate, but what it comes down to is the phase 1, we're just about $1.1 million. That's again for the tennis courts, the basketball courts, the accessible park, and the design for the snow hill. Some of the parking components, lighting that would go along with that, and any consultant fees that would be required. We are carrying a contingency in that number so that we're conservative. We have carried costs for the design team within Collier's fees. But we have not yet selected that company. We have been in talks with N45, who had done some work previously, but we're looking to make sure that we have the most competitive pricing and the best value to the municipality for that work. Phase 2, which is the functional programming and studies that go along with that work. We've have the design. So this is design only costs, consulting costs for $385,000. And just to give an idea what would be required in 2021 for phase 3 to procure that design builder and develop that procurement would be the $275,000. So I think that's all I have for my presentation. I'll turn that back over to, I'll stop the share there. Turn it back over to Celine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. At this point in time, do council members have any questions? Conseil Lorrain?
The first one is just more of a point of clarification, and I just want to make sure that we understand the terminologies, because terminologies may be a little bit different. So when Madame Guital was talking about the money that's been put aside, she used the word surplus, and I want to make sure it's reserve, right? That we've reserved this money for the last few years with the different programs that we've done, the 1% last year, the 1% this year, and the $150,000 funding. Those are all reserve fundings and not surplus funding. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think Madame Guital was just adding to the fact that we had our plan of the 1% annually, and council in the last 2 budgets increased that or put a surplus into the reserves more than was originally planned.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear on the terminology that we weren't taking surplus taxation to pay for this project. We were actually assigned reserved for funds within the budget. So again, it was just terminology.
Yeah, no,
that I wanted to make sure of. One question I did have, because I did go through the document, when it talks about fencing for, I know I'm going into the weeds here, but fencing for the tennis courts, is that, it said not included, is that we're not going to put one all the way around, just we're doing just one individually, or I'm assuming there's going to be fencing so the balls don't go flying all over the place. I just want to make sure on the discussion on that.
Yeah, Madame Guital?
Yes, we're definitely planning to have some fencing. Yeah. So yeah, fencing will be part of the tennis courts.
Okay, it's just in the report it states surround fencing not included.
I think, can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Paul.
So it's just, yeah, it's just a clarification there that that line item just doesn't include the perimeter fencing. We have that in the line item above it, which we've included.
In the 60,000, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions? No, on va laisser Madame Guital continuer.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire, members of council. So I think now the most important part of this project is absolutely the financial part of it. So I will let our Director of Finance, Monsieur Richard Godin, to give us more details about this section.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Godin.
Bonsoir, Monsieur le Maire. Bonsoir, cher membre du conseil. So schedules, I think it's attachments 2 and 3 to the report. Essentially, what we tried to illustrate here, what we've done is we've taken the financial plan that was presented to council back in August of 2019 when we started this the financing strategy for this rec complex. And what I wanted to illustrate to council here today is the growth and the difference where we stand now versus where we were and where we had projected we would be back then. I don't know if I wasn't planning on going into all the details of the report, but maybe it'd be good to share that the schedules 2 and 3 on the screen. Maryse, would it be better if I share my screen or if you can pull it up here?
Yes, can you share your screen?
Yeah, I can. I think I can do that.
Perfect. Now we see your screen, Mr. Godin.
So you see Schedule A, Rec Complex Financial Plan. So basically, this is one of the pages that was shown to council from the financial plan back in August 2019. So I'm just going to take your attention to the cumulative reserve. We're going to be using 2023 as a reference point, just because that's what we had used back then as a project completion date where we would need to finance the works. Back when we had presented the original plan, we were looking at a cumulative reserve of about $1.5 million in 2023. And a taxation or an infrastructure fund contribution of $750,000. So that was based strictly on that $150,000 funding plan that we had established. And what that would allow us to finance is a project at an amount of $16.5 million. So that was back in 2019 when we presented that financial plan. I'm just going to skip over to the third Schedule 3, which is the updated plan. So if we're looking at that same, we're going to be looking at that same table, but updated in December of 2020. So due to all the decisions from council, increasing taxes by 1% in 2020, another increase by another % in 2021, and to allocate those funds to this strategy, and also for the surcharge that we now invoice on ice rental, which helps to fund this project. We're now looking at a 23 cumulative reserve of about $3.2 million. So we see that all those decisions have helped speed up the process to build up a reserve for this project. And also, instead of $750,000 of taxation money allocated, we're now at just over $1 million. So basically what this means is this is giving us the capacity to move forward with the project in 2023 and to fully finance with a loan, but with the loan payments being funded from the strategy, a project of just under $24 million.
So just to clarify, Monsieur Godin, so essentially, we would not have to increase taxation to get a $24 million loan at this point in time.
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
And the following page, this is just and to follow kind of the same concept we showed back in 2019. Wanted to show different reference points. So we've used 38, 46, and $58 million. Those numbers are simply based on examples that were shown back then, but it gives you an idea of the range of outcomes. And what we're seeing here is if we do complete a project in 2023 for an amount of $38 million, like I said, we're able to fund about $24 million, so we would have to get an additional loan. And to be able to fund that loan, it would represent, I'm just going to focus on the important numbers here, it would represent a tax increase of about 5.7%. And that's comparable to back in 2019, we had shown 9.5%. Okay.
So I think it's important to note that the 1% additional we've been doing for the last few years has had a significant impact. And, we haven't even touched the 2022 budget, which could be another possibility of a 1% increase specifically for this reserve, which would only help strengthen the good position we're in already.
That's correct. So right now we're looking at 2023, but I mean, obviously this 5.7% could be done incrementally over 2 or 3 years to soften the yearly increase. This is kind of what I wanted to illustrate today, is just kind of an update of the numbers that were shown to council previously, to show how the different efforts that we've gone through in the last few budgets have helped moving forward. The other thing to consider as well is that we are looking to, we're going to be reviewing our DC study in 2021. So in going through that exercise, these numbers will be updated and reflected. In the 2016 study, sorry, which is currently active, the rec complex was estimated at $22 million. We did see a few different options as far as what's going to be in that and how much it could cost. So the DC study is going to be updated based on those new assumptions, and DC revenues could be impacted, or even the DC ratio of financing could be impacted accordingly. But this gives you kind of an overall picture as of today, what we're looking at financially.
Thank you very much, Mr. Godin. Questions, members of council, on this one? Councillor Tarnowski?
Well, I'm really impressed with the moves that were made, and obviously by Monsieur Godin for proposing these in that direction last year, that we started down this path. And I'm really happy to see that we're kind of getting into a much better position on an annual basis. It's almost like we're planning to buy something ahead of time, and so that we're not just reacting and just buying something that we can't afford. So I love the financial piece. I mean, I love the entire project, but that financial piece and the planning that went into it is a testament to the strong admin team at the township. So congratulations, Monsieur Godin and Monsieur Leduc and Madame Guittard for amazing presentation so far.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tarnowski. D'autres questions, commentaires, membres du conseil? Councillor Lorrain and Councillor Saucier.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that one of the biggest things that jumps out at me is the smoothing out of that percentage required, and that's why I think it was extremely important that what we did last year and this year, and that hopefully council remembers this slide specifically come the 2022 budget, and even hopefully the next council even into 2023, because we've just shown that approximately 4% has been reduced in 2 years of doing this, and the amounts are only going to go up. So we can go ahead and if you were to smooth that in for another 2% over the next couple of years at the same rate as another 4%, you'd be talking a 2024 tax increase of 1.2% to get a $38 to $40 million project. So I think it's important to have smoothed out that number, rather than coming at the end with a 9.5 or a 12 or a 15% increase, depending on the value. So great job all around on that. And extremely excited for the summer to see what components can go in and what the cost will be on those. Because I mean, I think I'm the longest standing person on council, and I think I've been talking about this project since I walked the streets back in 2006. So very happy for this to be moving forward the way it is. And I look forward to the stuff that we're doing in the short term. And we can't lose sight of that piece that's happening this summer and this fall. Getting in we're talking about it, I think, in the next report, but the accessible park in the name of Jonathan, and the additional recreation facilities to get people out. And we know people have been stuck in the house and whatnot the last 10 months there. So hopefully we can put together more facilities for them to get out and utilize them. So very happy.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Conseiller Lorrain. Councillor Saucier.
Yes, thank you. My sentiments as well to staff and also to the Colliers group for the presentation. I'm really excited about the basketball courts. It's something that's needed in the community. And but my question was I just want to have the projections right here, because I know we'll be asked at the library board. So we're looking at a library in possibly 2023. Is that correct?
So the library, Mr. Leduc, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, that'll be further discussions in the implementation plan as to what components go ahead. So potentially that quick, potentially later, depends how council votes when we start deciding on all the different aspects of what's going to go into that phased approach. Monsieur Leduc?
Mr. Mayor, good evening, everybody. Yes, that's correct. And also part of the financial plan did not show the reserves of DC funding, and also some moving reserves that the library has accumulated over time. So once we bring this element to council for decision early next summer, then you'll have all that financial component into it. And again, there'll be stakeholders consultation as far as the interest of what's wanted there also. So council will have a better picture as to what could be implemented there. But I felt that at this point in time, it's a matter of getting that decision made regarding where does the one location go as far as in that area. So if council agrees with that, then we'll continue working with implementing that library as fast as possible. It'll be a council decision, but certainly it could be a 23 to early 24 or late 24 access to it. But again, it'll need some time. It'll need some timing or some timely decisions by council. But certainly, and if that happens, then that's kind of the timeline you're looking at. Council associate.
Okay, merci.
Perfect. I think the part I like about the Collier approach as well is that we're having separate meetings with the public in regards to one set of meetings is strictly for the stakeholders, and then one meeting will be for general, residents, because we've had consultation processes in the past where, we saw meetings really get monopolized by a certain group and then, really not everybody had a chance to speak. By having these individual meetings, I think it's going to help with the process significantly. All right, other questions at that point in time? We'll continue with the presentation. I think Madame Guital.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So I would have left the floor to our CAO, Mr. Leduc, if you have anything to add before we close this report.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Guitar. Yes, I'm quite happy to see that this is finally taking shape. Like Councillor Lorrain, it's been a few years in the making and thinking at least, but now we're into the financial planning. We're now to the beginning of what's going to be looking like, and I'm quite excited with the site plan progression as to what will be taking place on that site. It certainly will be a gathering point for all the communities to get there and really enjoy recreational facilities all into one spot, one location. So certainly, I'm looking forward to that project to go ahead, and I'm quite happy. And I really thank Mr. Paul tonight for tonight's presentation. It was quite clear and concise, so people have an understanding of what's going on, and as far as when do we come back to council for further decisions. So thank you very much, everybody, for your contribution in that report. And looking forward to be back in front of council later for an update on this project.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Leduc. I think it's a milestone. Council is actually putting in place a plan and a roadmap on how we're moving forward with the implementation of this project. There'll be lots of discussion, lots of stakeholders discussions, but at least we're making the decision of moving forward. And by adding the library component, we're meeting council's self-determined rule of making a decision in 2020 as to what is happening with the number and branch library. We knew that we didn't want to be in the school anymore, and we looked at different options. But realistically, this area is going to be the community hub for the entire township. As my kids are older now, but as a parent of 3 boys who one would want to go to one area, one want to play soccer, one want to play baseball, football, one didn't want to play sports or, swimming, whatever the case is, parents with multiple kids will be able to attend this area and have different things going on with different kids. So I think that's a incredible feather in our cap when we move forward with this in the future. Conseiller Lorrain.
So you made a good point there that I needed to clarify. In the report, the last thing it says is number 4. Agrees to include a library as proposed in the implementation plan included in this report. Can we clarify that is the Emblem branch library and not a central library across the township?
Monsieur Leduc?
That's a decision that will be discussed further, I guess, with the library board with council. At this point, I only want to confirm that location for a location for the library, but certainly more consultation, more discussion will take place regarding what's going to happen with that. I'm not committing to say 1 large or 2 smalls. I'm not committing to that. It's not my responsibility. I will be bringing that in front of council and to the library board committee. So at this point, it's not anything attached to anything. It's just whatever will come out from the stakeholders' discussions and council decision will take place in time. So right now, it's not at all that discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. Conseiller Lorrain?
Then I ask that this item be pulled from the general reports. And I understand the thought process behind it, but having a central library was not part of the plan in in 2009 when we built the Russell Library, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form willing to change anything regarding the Russell Library or the Russell branch of the library. And I would be opposed to a central library there. So that's that one number 4 then concerns me. I'd be okay to approve it with the Emblem branch library component being included, but I'm not at this point ready to say just a general library to have a central library, and then all of a sudden we're talking about the changing of terms or changing of use for the Russell Library. So
Yeah,
I'd like that pulled out.
Yeah, we'll pull it out from the consent items. Councillor Tarnowski?
My only comment on that, which concerns me a little bit, is if we get into the weeds on the details of this, that we may be missing some opportunities. I like the idea that we're going to the stakeholders to make those decisions down the road. To right away put a roadblock like that, to me, I think is counterproductive to the whole process. So I'm a little disappointed that we're getting into this right now. I thought we have an amazing project here, amazing opportunities, and I would really like to see, as Monsieur Leduc said, the ability to go to the stakeholders to kind of get involved in those decisions rather than us, putting in right away like it has to be like this or like that. And I'm not saying that I don't agree with what you're saying, Councillor Lorrain. I just don't want us to put roadblocks in right away. And I'm disappointed that we're going to start doing that now.
Okay, thank you. Conseil Brisson?
Yeah, and also I'm glad that it was mentioned that we'll see how much it will cost for each option that we go, but also the operational cost of it, so that we can justify if we go with something, okay, saying to the people, if we want a pool, it will cost us so much, or if we go with the 3 ring, how much it will cost, or it will come back, how much money we will make, or things like that. So having the operational cost of it, I think, is as important as the cost of building it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Conseil Brisson. I think the whole financial component obviously will be very, very important piece of conversation, because let's not also remember, let's not forget the asset management portion of this new complex. We're adding a multi-million-dollar project or asset to the municipality. There's going to be some funds tied to the eventual replacement of that, because if we don't do that, then we set ourselves up for future failure where nothing gets put aside for the eventual replacement of an asset. So there's 3 big components: the actual loan, the actual operational costs, and the asset replacement costs in the future. So that will be part of the financial plan. And as we've stated, this is the first step. We don't need to be getting into the weeds at this point. At this point in time, we're just saying this is where the conversation for the 2020 in regards to the Emblem Library branch. We've been having this discussion for the last 2 years, and it was Monsieur Leduc was mandated with finding a location. And his presentation is that that's his recommendation, is that this is where the library goes. In regards to all other aspects of the library, that'll be a discussion in the future at another point in time, but it's not this evening. So with that, if there's nothing to add, Madame Guittard, I think we're done on this one.
I think we are. I just wanted to say in closing this that I was really privileged to be working on the Dome project, which is a very big success with our community, and I'm really excited to be working on this next future project, which I think the community will be very excited to receive. And I guess we'll be seeing each other back in this coming winter for more approval from council for probably the site plan. And I'm excited also that we'll be working with Colliers, which I have a lot of faith in their work ethic. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Madame Guittard. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul, and I believe Mr. O'Hearn was on the call as well. We didn't hear from him, but thank you both for this in-depth presentation, and we look forward moving this project forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. we will go to the next item, 11B, 11B. La désignation du parc Jonathan Pitt, rapport PR 22-2020, que le conseil reçoit le rapport PR 22-2020 daté du 7 décembre 2020. Et 1. Adopte la recommandation du comité consultatif des parcs et loisirs et du département pour nommer le nouveau parc, le parc Jonathan Pitt Park. Et 2. Reçoit le concept graphique de l'affiche pour annoncer le nouveau parc accessible. Et 3. Adopte que l'administration accepte des dons non sollicités pour le parc. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Tanoski?
I want to thank KB Media for their participation on this project. Great community partner. Really appreciate their jumping into this. Also wanted to acknowledge Councillor Saucier's continued efforts to move this file forward. I'm really proud of what is being accomplished here tonight, and I think it's in no small part to all of us. But I mean, Cindy was the one that was pushing to get this moving, and I really appreciate to see that we're moving forward. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tanoski. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Saucier?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ternowski, for that. Well, one of the questions I had is just in the name, because it said that it was the Jonathan Petrie Park, but should we not have the word accessibility in that, just so the public knows it's a special park? You know, because if it's just named after him, people may not realize that it has special equipment. It's just your thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Saucier. Madame Guittard, Monsieur Leduc, thoughts on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The only thing that I could add to Councillor Saucier's request is that we're going to also have some seniors equipment part of that park. So it's not only accessible equipment as per se. We're going to have the accessible structures, but part of that park will have some exercise components for the seniors. So, you know, I'm debating between, yeah.
From a advertising point of view, once I think the park is put up, you know, we'll be pushing the accessible component as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But not necessarily in the name. Monsieur Leduc, you had a comment?
Yeah, the sign that's going to be posted is the one that's attached in the appendix, and we are making reference to accessible park. We got that big, so I think the message will get across there. So, and also senior equipment, seniors are not part of the list of potential handicap individuals to take in consideration. So it's no longer something that's separate from accessibility. It's part of the accessibility group that's targeted by the legislation about that. So in this case, it's not separate. It's inclusive of the seniors' activity in an accessible park. But the sign will show that very specifically it's an accessible park.
Okay, perfect. Other thoughts, Councillor Brisson?
That's what I was going to say, that the sign that was proposed, it's right in accessible park for the promotion, and that I just want to reinforce what Mr. Leduc just did mention, that in the accessibility, they do include the senior population now too. So that's why it's covered well. And if we begin to say on the name of the park, every structure that will be in or every use of it, we will need a huge sign. So that's why with the promotion, I think, as it was mentioned, it will come on that the Jonathan Park will be an accessible one. So I think it's good like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you okay with that discussion, Councillor Saucier?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect every piece of equipment to be listed on the sign, but I just wanted to make sure that people realize that it, you know, the park was not just a park. You know what I mean? Like that it was something. But I mean, we can do that in our promo, I guess, and in our communication ahead of time. So yes, yeah. I'm good with it.
Okay. Most definitely, that'll be part of the communication plan. Okay. Any other questions, comments, members of council? Non, quelque chose à ajouter, Madame Guittard?
Non, je pense que c'est complet. Merci.
Parfait, merci beaucoup. On va aller à la prochaine. Item C, draft plan of commercial subdivision 778404 Ontario Inc. Robert Bourdeau, President, report PD 79 2020. That council receives report PD 79 2020 dated December 7, 2020 and approves the proposed commercial subdivision plan as submitted by 778404 Ontario Inc. being part of Lot 10 Concession 6, part of Plan 50R-10887 in the Village of Embrun, subject to conditions listed in this report. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Brisson?
Sorry, I had difficulty to find the microphone. Yeah, whenever I was reading the report, and what I see on the draft is just that there was the talk of having the roundabout on Saint-Guillaume. We see it at one place, but not on the main plan. But the first question I have is, on the explanation, they were stating another entry on Saint-Guillaume, and on the first draft, they're talking about just one entry in Saint-Guillaume and one on the 300.
Okay,
Just
clarification.
Yeah, just clarification.
Madame Tremblay?
Bonsoir, membre du conseil. Oui, dans le rapport, il faut juste se rappeler que cette ébauche de plan-là, c'est vraiment juste pour que la municipalité puisse émettre les conditions qui seront applicables au niveau du plan de subdivision pour le commerce. Donc, oui, il y a des conditions dans la fin du rapport qu'on peut référer à. Puis, une des conditions, c'est vraiment que le développeur resoumettre une nouvelle étude de trafic qui va démontrer puis il va représenter exactement les pourparlers de qu'est-ce qui a été entendu entre la municipalité et les comtés unis de Prescott-Russell et le développeur. Donc, en ce moment, on a la première étude de trafic où on parlait encore d'avoir des lumières de circulation. Depuis le temps où l'étude de trafic a été soumise, on a eu des entendus qui ont fait que, oui, on s'est entendu avec le développeur qui va avoir, avec le partenariat des autres de la municipalité et des comtés unis qui va avoir un rond-point. Donc, nous, la condition qu'on émet, c'est, j'ai juste mis les plans qui font partie de l'étude de trafic, mais on demande comme condition que le développeur nous remette une nouvelle étude de trafic qui reflète exactement ce qui doit être construit, puis qu'est-ce qui a été approuvé au niveau de la municipalité et au niveau des comtés. Pour répondre à l'autre partie de la question, oui, il y a un rond-point qui a été approuvé, puis oui, il y a un in and out qui a aussi été approuvé entre le rond-point et l'intersection de la route 300 et Saint-Guillaume.
OK, parfait. Conseiller Brisson?
C'est juste que je ne comprends pas pourquoi il va y avoir une autre sortie quand on parle d'avoir deux ronds-points direct l'un après l'autre. C'était ça. Puis dans le rapport, dans le plan, il n'y a pas le rond-point de considérer dans la route 300, dans son design non plus. C'est la première. OK,
Madame Tremblay.
Donc, la première partie de votre question, c'est juste pour préciser que la deuxième entrée ou sortie qu'on parle de entre les deux ronds-points, c'est vraiment juste un in and out. Donc, il n'y a pas de mouvement vers la gauche. Donc, les gens qui vont vers le nord peuvent entrer, puis les gens qui sortent peuvent continuer à aller vers le nord. Donc, ce n'est pas nécessairement quelque chose qui va causer des congestions au niveau de la circulation, au niveau du trafic. Donc, ça aussi, ça va être reflété dans l'étude de trafic. Puis la deuxième question au niveau du rond-point, peut-être que M. Bourgon peut ajouter si j'oublie de mentionner quelque chose, mais ça, c'est un projet au niveau de l'étude de trafic qu'on avait fait au niveau de la municipalité, de tout regarder les grosses intersections à l'intérieur de la municipalité, puis il avait été suggéré dans cette étude-là qu'on fasse un rond-point à cette intersection-là. mais il a été entendu que le développeur va nous donner la partie de terrain nécessaire pour être capable de justement procéder avec ce rond-point-là.
OK, parfait. Merci beaucoup, Mme Tremblay. Councillor Saucier is next, Monsieur Brisson.
Yeah, I just was curious here with the map. I see it's very close to the New York Central Trail, and then is that the river at the bottom of the map after St. Andre Road? I just want to make sure that you know, we have our buffer on our trail and also near the river.
Madame Tremblay.
So the river is quite far from the site.
Okay.
There is a municipal drain crossing the property, and this has been dealt with South Nation. So as part of the condition, there's an assessment that needs to be completed and approved by South Nation. So that's one of the conditions, and they're still working on making this happening. And in regards to the trail, there's no actual setback from the trails. So there's no specific setback that would apply compared to the building and the trail, but there's actual setback in the zoning bylaw that would apply to the trail distance. So basically, the way that the building is going to be positioned on the property, then the setback as regular setback from the zoning bylaw would apply. And just to mention, as part of this plan of subdivision, this is basically a plan of subdivision, as you can see, that creates 4 commercial blocks with 3 new roads. But each part of the buildings that are going to be built are going to go through another process, which is a site plan process. And at that process, we're going to look at all the parking requirements, the entrances, sidewalks. So it's going to be a lot more detail on each site for each building that is going to be built on those blocks.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at 983 there, and I just want to make sure that, you know, the trail isn't stripped all along there again, like we've been experiencing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madame Tremblay.
Just to confirm that they can't cut properties, they can't cut trees on our property, and the trail is, I believe in that section is 100 feet wide, so the trees cannot be cut by them on our property. So I believe that where the property of the developer start, it used to be a farm property, so where crops used to be, so there's no trees on his property. So we'll just make sure that they're not cutting trees on our property, and technically they're not permitted. And under, with discussion with the developer, I just want to mention that the corner of 300 and Saint-Guillaume will be phase 1. So everything close to the bike path will come in future phases.
Okay, thank you very much. Conseil Brisson?
Yeah, just to confirm that where the line of the property, there's no trees at all, because it's the trees have been cleared up to the fence. So there's no trees that would have to be cut, just to reassure Councillor Saucier. I have 2 questions. Whenever you said that the corner of 300, that the developer would have to give, or will have to buy it from the developer? Because if it's a roundabout, it will have to be completely, as the other one that is suggest, completely on his property. That's the first question.
Madame Tremblay or Monsieur Bourgon? Not sure who wants to take that one.
I'll maybe Monsieur Bourgon, if you want to jump in to confirm. I believe that the developer was imposed that condition, that he needs to give us the piece of property at the corner of Saint-Guillaume and 300 to be able to build that roundabout, and that was agreed on as part of the proposal. But Monsieur Bourgon, if you want to jump in, maybe.
Merci, Madame Tremblay. So yes, that's correct. The developer did agree to give a parcel of property for that roundabout at the corner. We're still looking at feasibility of where to locate our roundabout exactly, which that will come in front of council shortly to determine the exact location and geometry to match the roundabout proposed for this subdivision.
Okay, merci, Monsieur Bourgon. Monsieur Brisson?
Yeah, the second question I have is, since we're talking about the first roundabout, from Saint-Guillaume, will that affect the development of the A&W? Because there was supposed to be some turning lane, but if there's a roundabout there, you won't need because you can use both roundabout to get to that property. So
I can answer this one, Madame Tremblay, since we just had the discussion. So essentially the project, the entrance for the project at the A&W has already been approved by the United Counties, and Madame Tremblay will correct me if I'm wrong, but the proposal for this subdivision will have to take into account what was approved for the intersection where the A&W is. So he'll have to incorporate those changes into what he's proposing for his subdivision. If there are minor changes that have to be made, that'll be it will be part of this subdivision's costs to moving forward. Was that correct, Madame Tremblay?
Yeah, and just a component of delaying. So basically, we're asking the proponent on the other side of Saint-Guillaume to wait until he proceed with the proposed road improvement until we actually know the design of the roundabout. So make sure that everything works together.
Yeah, essentially what we're trying to avoid is that the project on the west side of Saint-Guillaume goes ahead, does all the road improvements, and then 6 months later, a year later, everything gets torn up. So we're trying to get them to work together. The counties is looking at both plans in conjunction, and we'll be moving forward with the best scenario possible.
That's why I was mentioning it, just to make sure that they don't put a lot of money on the road widening, and then we turn around and we put a border in the middle because we have the roundabout right beside. So just making sure that we don't spend some money to undo it just a year after. Okay.
Thank you. Madame Tremblay, tu voulais ajouter quelque chose?
Yeah, I just want to add to Monsieur Brisson's comment is that as part of the condition, it was also included that the design of the roundabout do consider what has been approved for the other projects. So that's part of the condition that the township is sending to the county so that it's being imposed whenever they review the design of the roundabout.
Okay, perfect. Very much. Thank you very much, Madame Tremblay. Other comments, members of council? Thank you very much, Madame Tremblay. Just a quick question for you. I know that in this site plan we talk about the park in lieu funds, and it's going to be based on the value of the property. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. So basically, right now in our park in lieu bylaw, we do require that the proponent is submitting 2% of the value of the property based on the 2-year recent appraisal or recent sale. So that is also a part of the condition for this plan of subdivision.
Okay, it's just I was confirmed because I know that the United Counties is having a third-party evaluation done because for the roundabout on Saint-Guillaume, they're going to be acquiring some of the property. So I just want to make sure that we're getting the right amount as per what's going to be sold to the United Counties for that portion of land.
It could be to our disadvantage. That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay, parfait. D'autres questions? S'il n'y a pas d'autres questions, on peut continuer. Au moins, tu as quelque chose d'autre à ajouter, Madame Tremblay?
Non, merci.
Okay, parfait. Move on to the next item. Item D, naming and dedicating land as public highway, report PD 80-2020. The council receives report PD 80-2020 dated December 7, 2020, and the council adopts the name of Robot Street and the bylaw to dedicate Robot Street and an extension of Warehouse Street in the Industrial Park 417 as a public highway. Questions, members of council? It's pretty standard stuff. The only Madame
my hand is up. Sorry.
Sorry, I think your camera is off, Councillor Tarnowski. I don't see you at all. Yeah, question, on. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So I just wanted to know what was the process of determining that name? If there was, like, what's the reason for it? I'm just curious.
Just curious? Madame Tremblay, when I first saw the name of this street, I thought it was somebody that was working at home that was consulting with maybe a few shorter people when it came to the name.
It looks like it, but no, we do have a bank of names, and we consult with the 911 from the county and making sure that we're allowed to use that road name. Basically, it's we pick from that bank that we already have that was already approved, and Robot was one of them, and we felt that the company that we're buying were producing and being productive, and so we felt that it was matching what was the type of business that we're going there. There's no scientific thinking behind it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Madame Tremblay. Possibly the next one will be called Spaceman Drive. All right. I'm not sure how everybody else's screens are looking. Just to let you know, it seems that some pictures I'm not being able to see on my screen. So we do have the function of lifting your hand. So if I'm asking for questions, I might not be seeing you. So either lift your little virtual hand or just speak up. Thank you. We will go on to the next item. Item E. Autorisation pour exécuter une entente de lotissement, rapport PD 84-2020. Que le Conseil reçoit le rapport PD 84-2020 daté du 7 décembre 2020 et approuve le règlement autorisant le maire et la greffière à exécuter et apposer le sceau à une entente de lotissement entre 1437137 Ontario Inc., Cloutier Phase 5, et la Corporation du canton de Russell pour une parcelle de terrain légalement décrite comme une partie du lot 9, concession 8. Questions membres du Conseil, questions from members of council. Seeing none, hearing none. Do you have anything to add, Madame Tremblay?
No, thank you.
Okay. On va aller au prochain item. Item F. Authorization to execute a subdivision agreement, report PD 85-2020, Cloutier subdivision phase 6B. The council receives report PD 85-2020 dated December 7, 2020, and approves the bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute and affix the corporate seal to a subdivision agreement between 1437137 Ontario Inc. for phase 6B of the subdivision and the Corporation of the Township of Russell for a parcel of land legally described as a part of lots 9 and 10, concession 8, Namur and Burn Street in the village of Embrun. Questions, comments, members of council? Seeing, hearing none, quelque chose à ajouter, Madame Tremblay?
No, not at this point.
OK, merci. On va aller au prochain item, item G. Allocation d'unités d'eau et d'égout, rapport PD 86-2020, le rue Avignon-Embrun. Que le Conseil reçoit le rapport PD 86-2020 daté du 7 décembre 2020 et approuve l'allocation de 55 unités d'eau et d'égout pour les propriétés appartenues à 1437137 Ontario Inc., légalement décrites comme étant partie du lot 9, concession 8 sur la rue Avignon-Embrun. Questions, comments, members of council? Seeing, hearing none. Quelque chose à ajouter, Madame Tremblay?
No.
Parfait, merci. Next item is item H. Water and Sewer Unit Allocation Report PD 87-2020 for Lucerne Street in Embrun. The council receives report PD 87-2020 dated December 7, 2020 and approves the requested 74 units of water and sewer services for a property owned by 1437137 Ontario Inc., legally described as part of lots 9 and 10, concession 8, on Namur Street and Burn Street, part of lot 9, concession 8, plan 50M348 on Lucerne Street in the village of Embrun. Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing, seeing none. Anything to add from the administration?
Cindy, she's not there.
Oh, you have a question, Cindy? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure is the screen where we are? Because on my page, we're stuck at D. I'm just want to make sure the public is able to follow.
I think the screen is on me presently. Maryse, can you just confirm?
Yes, that's correct. It's on you.
Oh,
Okay.
So
But the agenda is online and people have access
Okay.
online to
all
the
right,
agenda.
just wanted to make sure. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions, members of council?
Just mentioning, Mr. Mayor, that right now we're not able to lift our hand because I don't think we have that option whenever we're live. So if you don't see us, we'll have to just let the other one that we have to speak because we don't have that option to lift hand.
Okay, perfect. I got my connection doesn't seem to be the best, so yeah, definitely just shout out if somebody has a question. Okay, next item is item I. Itami, demande de modification au règlement de zonage, supprimer le symbole d'aménagement différé, rapport PD 88-2020. Que le conseil reçoive le rapport PD 88-2020 daté du 7 décembre 2020 et approuve la modification du règlement de zonage numéro 2018-94 pour la propriété en question afin de changer le zonage de zone résidentielle 1A avec aménagement différé R1AH à zone résidentielle 1A R1A. Question, membres du conseil? Hearing none, anything to add from the administration?
Non, merci.
Okay, merci beaucoup. Well, item K, appointment of full-time building official, verbal report, PD 2020. Je crois que c'est...
Excuse-moi, il y a sauté J.
Ah, j'ai sauté J?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I skipped item J. So item J, authorization to execute a subdivision agreement report PD 89-2020. 291219 Ontario Limited and John Corvinelli Investments Limited phases 7C and 8B. I'm sure John wouldn't have been happy if I didn't get this approved. The council receives report PD 89-2020 dated December 7, 2020, and that council approves the bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute, affix the corporate seal to a subdivision agreement between 291219 Ontario Limited and John Corvinelli Investments Limited for phases 7C and 8B of the subdivision, and the corporation, the Township of Russell, for parcel land legally described as part of Lot 12, Concession 3, Station Trail, Village of Russell, Gamble Drive, Parkview Terrace, Solidex Place, and Deerfield Drive in the Village of Russell, Township of Russell, County of Russell. Questions, members of council? Hearing none. Madame Tremblay, just a quick question from me. This is phases 7C and 8B. Do we know how many phases in total for this parcel area of land?
Through Mr. Mayor, that's going to complete the entire subdivision for this
Okay,
subdivision.
Perfect.
And oops, sorry.
I was just going to comment that the subdivision has been active for quite a long time, so I was just curious if we're nearing the end. Go ahead, Madame Tremblay.
2005, it's been ongoing, so it's a big subdivision, and we're completing all phases with those two phases. I just want to take the opportunity to remember, just to mention this to members of council, is that just tonight we've approved when we authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign those agreements, that means that we're allowing the developer to start building on those property. And basically we've just approved over 200 lots tonight to be ready to move ahead. So when we're saying that we're busy and it's not slowing down, this is the proof that we've just signed 3 subdivision over 200 lots to be, and I think the developer are going to be really happy to see that we're moving forward because they have no more lots to sell. So that means we keep the economy moving and people are building and buying. So that's good news.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a quick, sorry, go ahead.
Will there be some camping around from les maisons modèles this time?
Well, we're in full growth mode, so hopefully the supply is there for the amount of people looking to move. But you know, Russell Township's one of the best places to live in Canada, so I'm not surprised that people are camping out to want to move here. Members of council, I'm not sure how you're seeing my screen. Is everything okay on your end? I'm just wondering if a few of us are having issues, I'm wondering if we should just take a 2-minute break and just restart our computers to see if that makes a difference. If you guys say that everything's okay on your end.
You have the same problem I had at the beginning, so that's why, but it's okay for me, but maybe you'll have to restart, yeah.
Okay, is anybody having any issues?
Everything's working fine, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. If you guys are good to go, then I'm good to go. All right, item K, appointment of full-time building official, verbal report PD 2020. Madame Tremblay.
C'est simplement un rapport verbal pour vous aviser que suite à l'autorisation des membres du conseil d'une des réunions, je crois en septembre, on avait approuvé un nouveau poste d'inspecteur de bâtiment sous un contrat de 2 ans. Donc, c'est pour vous aviser que ce poste-là a été comblé. We hired Ennio Angliera, who started last week, and as members of council remember, because it's under the building code, it needs to be appointed by council for him to be allowed to start inspections. So tonight, as part of the agenda, you'll have a bylaw to approve if you're agreeing to this, to appoint Ennio so that he could start doing inspections. And to be appointed means that he's entitled to do so under the building code.
Okay, thank you very much, Madame Tremblay. Questions, members of council?
Yeah, just a question. Just to know, is he available? Is he authorized to go by himself? Because the way I was reading it, it was as if he had to be with somebody else, or if he's allowed to.
Madame Tremblay?
So right now he has one of the courses, so he has his legal, and he needs to complete the small building under the building code of Ontario to be able to go on his own. So yes, right now he'll have to shadow one of our other inspectors until he completes the exam for the small building qualification. However, it's qualified or not, this is usually the way we train our building inspector. We don't send them right away on their own. So it's a good transition for him to start shadowing somebody else before he starts on his own. And that would be probably in January that he will be able to start and doing his own inspections.
Perfect, thank you very much. Any other questions, members of council? Hearing none, we will move on to the next item. Item L, a temporary boring bylaw report FS 44-2020. Que le conseil reçoit le rapport FS 44-2020 daté du 7 décembre 2020 et adopte le règlement d'emprunt temporaire. This is something that we see every year. Any questions, members of council? Hearing none, anything to add, Monsieur Godin?
Non, merci. Merci.
OK, parfait. On va aller à la prochaine item, item M. Amendment to signed bylaw report PIC 15-2020 in relation to enforcement during an emergency. The council receives report PIC 15-2020 dated December 7, 2020, and as recommended in this report, approves the proposed amendment to signed bylaw 2016-052 by amending sections 12.1 relating to penalty and enforcement. Questions, members of council?
I got one, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Janoski, go ahead.
So I just said that during this difficult time, I'm in full support of helping our local businesses getting creative to stay open. So thank you for this amendment.
Okay, thank you very much. Quelque chose à ajouter, Madame Bordeaux?
Non, comme vous voyez, je l'ai laissé non seulement juste pour cette instance-ci, mais pour n'importe quelle instance qui demanderait d'aider à nos commerçants à s'identifier puis identifier les services qu'ils offrent durant une urgence.
Okay, parfait. Merci beaucoup. If there's no other questions, I will move on to the next item. Item N. Plan d'amélioration communautaire, le PAC, rapport EcoDev 08-2020. Que le conseil reçoit le rapport EcoDev 08-2020 daté du 7 décembre 2020 et que le conseil approuve les 2 règlements concernant le programme du plan d'amélioration communautaire tel que présenté et que le conseil approuve l'amendement au règlement 27033 sur les frais du parc et terrain de jeu pour y inclure le rabais de 50% applicable aux propriétés assujetties au programme PAC. Question aux membres du conseil.
J'ai une question.
Allez-y, Councillor Tonowski, then Councillor Saucier.
All right. So in concept, I completely agree with this, but I'm just requesting some clarification. So in the report, page 4, it states that one of the goals for the CIP is to create tax relief. I understand that one of the benefits from the program is some tax relief for up to 2 years, but is it a goal of the program to get tax relief? If I read the program, like if I understand the program correctly, like I'm looking for clarification, I assume that a property improvement would down the road increase tax returns for the township. So a goal is the reason for the program, or is tax relief like a tool to get people to get the CIP? That's what I like. So I'm just trying to understand, because the end goal, I don't think is going to be tax relief.
So just correct me if I'm wrong, Madame Tremblay. If I understand the program properly, they are getting tax relief on the increased value of the property. So if, for example, the property is worth $100,000, after they do their rentals, it goes up to $200,000. While that $100,000 worth of assessment, if you will, there's a tax relief on that portion for a couple of years. But afterwards, it does long-term increase the assessment value that we're collecting taxes on. Is that correct, Madame Tremblay?
Yes, you're correct. And maybe the choice of word was not appropriate in the report. What we meant is that basically when businesses are looking to purchase in our park versus another park, when we're offering that program, people are more entitled to come, not entitled, they're more incités à venir à notre parc industriel comparativement à un autre. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'on a mis ça comme un avantage. Ce serait plus un avantage qu'un but, vraiment. And for the program is that yes, you're correct, is that the assessed value is what's above of what you're paying already. And there's a minimum of the increase for you to achieve before you're entitled to have that grant. And the rebate is only applicable 50% for the first year and 25% for the second year, and then you pay the full amount as everybody else.
Merci.
Okay. Councillor Saucier and then Conseil Brisson, I believe.
Yeah, it was just really a comment. I think the report is excellent, and I like the whole concept. One thing that really struck me was when you talked about compatibility with surrounding buildings and, you know, just the facade and what the changes that they make and what have you. And, you know, I really feel we should incorporate this into our residential development as well, you know, because sometimes I feel things are being built that don't complement the surrounding area or fit in or, you know, may be detrimental to what's already there. So, and I like the, where you said you were going to look at the semi-annual report and have, and then we can reassess things and look at it again. So it was a good read. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saucier. Conseiller Brisson?
Non, j'avais rien.
Okay, parfait. If there's no other questions, Madame Tremblay, tu voulais-tu ajouter quelque chose?
Yeah, I just want to mention that we do have compatibility criteria in our residential. So the best example is when we've reviewed the zoning amendment and the official plan amendment for one of the property on Notre Dame. In our official plan, we do make sure that the compatibility area criteria are met when we recommend or not to council to move ahead with the proposed project. There is no amount associated when they do meet those criteria, but we do have design criteria in our official plan.
Okay, parfait. Merci beaucoup. D'autres questions? No? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. Item O, which would... Yes.
Sorry, I just want to mention that we'll have to reassess every half of the year, because basically what we're the budget that we have in the approved budget was $50,000. And basically, it's programs that are available for new businesses, and there's a lot of interest. And as you could see, we upped up the amount of money that the businesses in the 417 and the business part will be eligible to. In the village core right now, the maximum amount is $10,000, and we understand that those projects in the industrial park and commercial park are usually bigger. So the amount for each business is 20,000. So it's pretty considerate for a business to receive that amount of 20,000. Above, we have the tax rebate and the building permit fee rebate, and the reduction in the parking year of a cash land. So there's that's a good program. I think it's a good incentive for businesses to come and purchase in our industrial park, and also improve the look of the existing businesses that didn't have that chance back then when they built years ago.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madame Tremblay. Look forward to see the activity upswing of those who are interested in using this program. We'll move on. Item O was the future Russell Transpo. That, as I mentioned at the beginning, was pulled off this agenda because there was some new information that came in at the very last minute, so it'll be brought back at the following meeting. The next item is item P, improvement on the intersection of Edie Road and Route 200, report ISPW 25-2020. The council receives report ISPW 25-2020 dated December 7, 2020, and approves the improvements to visibility of the existing stop signs at the intersection of Edie Road and Route 200 by 1, moving the stop bar, 2, cutting one tree, and 3, installation of an oversized stop sign and stop ahead. Questions, comments, members of council? I can't see any hands.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Associate.
Merci. I guess I was still a little confused as to why we are not recommending a 4-way stop there. I know there was, like the report said, there was only 1 accident, but I'm again just curious, what's acceptable? How many accidents is acceptable before we do something like that?
Okay. Monsieur Bourgon.
Merci, Monsieur Maire. So my analysis to determine if the 4-way stop is required or not is based on the Ontario Traffic Manual. And the amount of accident, it's at least 3 per year for 3 years in a row. I currently don't have this data. I did apply to the MTO to acquire this validation. So from my point of view at this time, there's only been 1 accident, and it was a hit and run. So that just led us to believe that regardless, this driver won't stop if it's 4-way stop. The traffic movement doesn't warrant a 4-way stop either at that location. So that's why, like, based on the analysis that we've did, I cannot recommend a 4-way stop at that location.
Okay, thank you very much, Monsieur Bourgon.
I have a
Other
question.
Go ahead, Councilor Lorrain.
So I don't know who to address this one to, but do we know if we've had any accidents at the corners of 400 and Concession and 400 and St. Andre, or I forget which one it was that we added 4-way stops to over the last few years? And the reason I ask that is because I don't believe that we had the same 3 accidents per year guidelines that were met. We chose to go ahead and put them through and add 4-way stops to those 2 locations. And I just wanted to see whether or not there were any new accidents at those locations, if we know, because I agree that I truly believe that there probably should be a stop sign there, 4-way stop at that location, and that we shouldn't always be waiting for multiple accidents to happen before we act. Let's be proactive and put them in rather than reactive after some tragedy happens. So I just wanted to, again, I don't know if anyone has any of that information. So that's the first part. The second part would be if we do implement these measures, does that stop us from adding a four-way stop after we get the MTO information? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarification, I believe the intersection you were referring to Saint Marie, I believe that was a county road decision, Monsieur Bourgon. I think the two stop.
Yeah, yes, it was a county road decision, but they also did the traffic counts, and the turning movement warrant the four-way stop as well. There was meaning there's as much traffic coming on 400 than there was on the county roads. So that was one thing that warranted that four-way intersection. Again, my recommendation following the OTM Book 5 is not to recommend a four-way stop at that location, but council always have the authority to implement those type of improvement or modification to an intersection.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bourgon. But to confirm Councilor Lorrain's second point, if ever we moved ahead with your recommendation and later on we decided we wanted to put a four-way stop, council always has that possibility.
Yes, that's correct. And if we do get more data from the MTO, I would certainly come back in front of council to change the recommendation if need be with that information as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Council.
Something just to add to that. You know, just like, I mean, I walk Edie Road every day, and the traffic is substantial on that road, and especially as the subdivisions are enlarging, and we've got 2 more phases going in right now, plus the Melanie, and people use that to go down to the bars and to get to the 417. So it is quite, I'm surprised that the study would show that it's not a well-utilized road. So I do agree with Councillor Laurent on this, and that it's something that I think we really need to keep on our radar here.
Mr. Mayor, can I add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to add, Monsieur Bourgon, if I interpret what you said, it's because the other locations we're talking about, the traffic going both ways were equally. So in this case, from what you've mentioned, the traffic going from east to west on Route 200 is not the same as the traffic on Edie Road, which on Edie Road is considerable. Is that correct?
That's correct. The major traffic we'll see it's really on Edie Road without any like major movement or left turn movement. So that's why like the traffic counts or the split of traffic doesn't warrant the four-way stop at that location. Doesn't mean there's no traffic, it's just the type of movement.
Yeah, it's not a 50-50 split like on the other 2 locations we did last year or earlier this year.
And to add to that, it doesn't mean that in a few years down the road, it won't be warranted.
Well, that's correct as well. Now that we're redoing work on Route 200, the traffic flow might change slightly with better road conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Une chose, j'aimerais rajouter une chose aussi.
Councillor Brisson?
Yeah, and also just as it was mentioned, there's not the same flow of traffic on the 200 and the 400 because there was a lot. And also we have to remember that on the 400, there was already some road that had some four-way stop and some not. And that's, I think, personally, that's where it was more confusing than whenever you're on the 200, you know that every road has the right of way on the other side. So there's no four-way stop. So the people are not as confused as it was for the 400. But as they did mention, maybe later on, it might come. But right now, since there's not that confusion, that they're all that they have to stop on whenever you're on 200. And it's sure that whenever, even if there's lights or stop, or there's some stupid people that won't stop. So that's part of it. So, okay, that's all.
Yeah, well, that was, if I remember reading the accident in the news earlier this year, that was specifically, there was a person that went through the stop. So would have a four-way stop made a difference? Potentially, but potentially not. Other questions, comments on this one?
Can I just ask that it be removed so I can make comment on why I'd be voting one way or the other on it?
Yeah, not a problem. So we'll remove item P. At this point in time, we've been going for 90 minutes. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and we'll be back at 7:40. So we'll just put it on hold, and we'll come back in 5 minutes.
Aris, I'm still on live. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My apologies, was having a little bit of technical difficulties there. Everybody can hear me and see me okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. All right, so we're moving on to the next item, which is item Q, thème Q. User fee corrections for the Sport Dome, report PR 2020. The council receives report PR 2020 dated December 7, 2020, and approves the proposed bylaw to amend Schedule A9 Parks and Recreation fees of the user and charges bylaw 2020-130 with respect to the elimination of the semi-annual pass and the addition of a reduced rate for non-primetime bookings for multi-sport court. Question, members of council.
I have one.
I have one.
Councillor Lapin and then Councillor Saucier. I can see you guys again now.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a question, and this is for Madame Guital on this, and I know we had a discussion, or at least an email exchange or something like that. With regards to the walking track, you have the fees listed on here, but the one thing that's missing is the 12 and under discussion. And I thought that it was going to be included in this update. So can we make that correction or that update now, that 12 and under are free, and that it be added into the actual bylaw?
Thank you, Conseil Lorrain. Comments, Madame Guital?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Yeah, Councillor Lorrain, I'm very sorry for that. It went through the cracks and we did forget about it, but we had a discussion, the recreation coordinator, and we had agreed to that, and we completely forgot to put it in. But obviously, yeah, it's absolutely okay. 12 and under are free, and it's just a precision in the user fee, and definitely we could add this on to the user fee.
Great, parfait.
Do I need to add that as an amendment, Mr. Mayor? And if so, then I need to remove this item from the bylaw, or from the both the resolutions and the bylaws.
Yeah, to be on the safe side, we'll remove it and we'll make that amendment so it's clear direction for administration.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, members of council?
Yeah.
Councillor Saucier?
Yeah, and for the 12 and under, it's also clearly indicated that they have to be accompanied by an adult, right, as well? Yeah, the question I had was about the user fee insurance. I think like if people are, it said something, if they're renting, they need insurance. Like our insurance doesn't cover that. They have to get separate insurance. I don't know where I read that.
Monsieur Leduc, Madame Guital, not sure. I don't have it.
No?
No.
Okay.
We'll be looking into that for the, I can say that in 2021, we will be looking into that because COVID brought a lot of new things in our world. So this is something we'll be looking into, but up to now, we had not been asking insurance for the users, except for the halls when they're renting and for special events. We do ask for insurance under those circumstances.
Okay, maybe that's where I read it.
Yeah, maybe for under the SLP
yeah.
license, and yeah, that's.
And then the other question I had was, you had in the user fee was for the basketball, and of course we don't have basketball in the dome, but is that just looking at the future for us having basketball outside?
No, well, yeah, we could leave it there, but I don't think there will be any fees for the basketball to use outside. The basketball in the dome, unfortunately, we are unable to bring it back, so we could just take it off completely.
Yeah, it's on the list as, you know, because people might say, oh, I can rent, still get basketball. And then the other question I had is just why are we eliminating the 6-month membership?
Yeah, that Madame Guital, if I remember well, the direction at the discussion at the budget time was that people using the semi-annual pass were essentially renting their time for the court was roughly $1.25 an hour. Was that correct?
Yes, definitely. So we have some users that most of the users that have the semi-annual pass come and play every day every day of the week. So at one point it becomes at like at $1.24 an hour. So this, and also it's monopolizing the whole
Right.
schedule. So we want to make it available for other people, and we have to be fair to the people that use the gym and the track and the turf. So this is where we needed some adjustment.
Okay, because I actually, kind of like taking a membership for half a year, because in the summer I don't utilize the domes.
Yeah.
So will I still be able to say can I pay for a 4-month period or is it month to month then? If I want to do the gym?
This 6-month pass is strictly for the multi-use court that we're discussing.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's right. That's the only one we're eliminating. We're not touching any other passes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions, members of council? If there's nothing to add, we'll move on to the next item. Item R, Russell Municipal Rental and Allocation Policy Report PR 21-2020, December 21st, 2020. The council receives report PR 21-2020 dated December 21st, 2020, and 1, approves the proposed bylaw to adopt the revised Russell Municipal Facilities Rental Allocation Policy, and 2, repeals the previous bylaw 2019-67. Questions, comments, members of council? Conseiller Brisson and then Conseiller Lorrain.
I was reading it, and they were saying that if a resident was putting his name, his address here, but if the majority is from outside the municipality, but how will they control it? Because if there is some time with group, I take example of 10, sometime there's maybe 5 that is coming from a region, but the next year there's 6. And is it that they have to be an account of the exact, how it will be controlled? That's my position of knowing what's outside and what's inside.
Okay. Thank you. Madame Guittard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So definitely here we're talking about user groups. We're not talking about individuals. So usually if it's an association, the season starts for them, for the turf, for example, starts in November and ends usually late April or until it's nice to play outside. So we could definitely ask them the addresses of every player. And this is how we're going to decide, because at this point we came to the realization that some are taking advantage of this, and we're protecting our facilities and our residents. So I think it's only fair that if they're not 50% more residents, they should pay the outside fees.
Okay. Thank you, Madame Guittard. Yeah, unfortunately, some people always looking for the loophole to save a buck, right? And in this instance, while it affects the revenues for the corporation, which in turn affects our own residents. Conseiller Lorrain, you had a comment?
Well, I just want a clarification on that. So when we talk about recognized organizations, is that minor sport organizations that rent it, and then when we talk about resident, where an individual residing in the township municipality, if the individual represents a group, at least 50% of the participations have to reside. But yet, is that just a group of individuals and not an association?
That's right.
So the association falls under recognized organizations, which does not need the 50%, right? And I use that because we have different hockey, I'll use hockey first. Different hockey teams that have different participation of members throughout the municipality. You've got 2 different upper tier levels of hockey for Russell, and Emblem are different because they're in different districts. Then you got the girls. It's a side. You've got that kind of stuff. But I'm also looking at your baseball as an example where to play competitive baseball, some of the residents have to go into Ottawa to play more competitive. But those Ottawa teams are now coming into Russell to use our dome. So if they've got people on it from Russell, and there's a certain number of players for that association that come from Russell, then I believe there needs to be the ability for the department to allow for residential fees, because those players do not have the ability to play in our township on teams located within the township. So if you're telling me that this accounts for that, then I'm good. If you're telling me that it doesn't and we need to make more adjustments, then I need to understand what those are.
Okay. Thank you, Conseil Lorrain. So, Madame Guittard, my understanding is there has to be a certain percentage for it to be a residential rate, a certain percentage of the players that have to be from the township. Is that correct? Regardless of where the organization is from, but they'll have to have a certain amount that's here.
Yes and no. So yes, you do need 50% and more. The no part is because some of those minor sports organizations, like Councillor Lorrain was talking about, like Russell Minor, girls hockey, Junior B, they are mentioned as specific organization in our policy. So these ones do not fall under that 50%. As for the baseball, I know last summer we had a request from an organization. Finally, they never came, nothing came concrete about this reservation. But if it does come back again, definitely this could be handled case by case. So we understand that part, that some organizations do not, our players cannot be part of the Ottawa, so they come here. So that is okay, and definitely I would come back to council for an exclusion. But as of now, it's mostly for the turf right now that we did see some kind of a little bit of taking advantage of.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up, Conseil Lorrain?
Yeah, then I'm absolutely in agreement with this. Obviously we don't want people to be taking advantage of the fact that we have reduced rates for residents and have them booking it for groups of groups of adults who don't reside in the township. Then they should be paying the other fee. So I'm good with that. My last question is, I only see changes on the definitions for this in yellow for this bylaw.
Yeah.
Is that the only changes that were made in this bylaw? Because I know we did have an issue last time, and I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Okay. No, I think it's the only one that we needed to do, because like I said, our other groups like minor sports, hockey minor sports, they are mentioned as specific, so we don't need to address them.
Okay.
And this would take effect on May 1st. So if we do have leagues that will be facing new fees, they will be advised before the start of their new season.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madame Guittard. Any follow-up questions? Hearing none. Monsieur Leduc?
Just want to ask Mrs. Guittard to get to Councillor Lorrain's question. Did we take the last updated version so that we're clear on that on the question? Because last time we had used the previous version of a bylaw. Did we make sure this time we had the last version? That was his question.
I think we have the last version. Hopefully, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the next item. Item S. Subventions et contributions communautaires, rapport PR 24-2020. Que le Conseil reçoit le rapport PR 24-2020 daté du 7 décembre 2020 et adopte les recommandations du département pour les octrois municipaux de 2020 au groupe communautaire suivant. 1. Refuser un don ponctuel au Club optimiste de Limoges au montant de 1 000 $ pour l'éclairage du sapin de Noël le 5 décembre 2020. Questions, comments? Conseiller Brisson.
Oui, j'aimerais parler un peu en faveur d'eux autres, là. Juste laisser savoir que le projet total est de 3 120 $ et que la Nation a déjà approuvé pour un 2 000 $ pour payer dans ces frais-là. Puis le reste du 120 $ venait du comité récréatif de Limoges. Also, just to mention that they did try to do it by themselves the other year because that's a tradition in Limoges to light up that tree. And there was some issue with manpower and equipment and everything. They also tried to leave the lights in the trees, but they find out that the squirrel were saying that it was their territory, so they cut all the lights, so they don't have the choice to take it out. And also just to say that this year with pandemic, there was $1,000 that usually we give to Limoges for their community day that was not given. So that's why I'm asking a reconsideration from the other councillor that we do give this grant to so that they can have the light in the trees. Thank you.
So, Conseil Brisson, essentially you're asking to separate this item from consent items.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I was going to say next, yeah.
Okay, so we'll remove that item. We'll have discussion further, but if you want to do it now, Councillor Saucier, go ahead.
I just understand also because of the Russell community tree and what a big task it is to, you have to get a professional truck to get the lights up and what have you, and it is fairly costly. I know like just even getting some of the quotes, like when we were considering putting lights on the museum, what some of these companies charge. So, just because a lot of the villages are trying to do a light up the village and make it a little more cheery this year, I would support Councillor Brisson's request on this one.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll have that item separated out and you'll be able to make that amendment. Okay, any other comments? No, we'll move on to the next item. Item T, Programme d'infrastructure investir dans le Canada, volet résilience à la COVID-19, rapport PR 25-2020. Que le Conseil reçoit le rapport PR 25-2020 daté du 7 décembre 2020 et autorise et appuie la demande de subvention pour la somme de 146 571 pour le Programme d'infrastructure investir dans le Canada. Questions, membres du Conseil? Questions, members of Council? Hearing none, it's pretty straightforward report. It's nice that the government's offering to give us some funds. This item was discussed at budget time. We had taken it out, but obviously if we have some funding coming, it's a piece of infrastructure that when it's not COVID is very well used. And the last thing we want to do is start this program back up just to have all the infrastructure crap out on us. So, Madame Guitard, anything to add?
No, Mr. Mayor, I think it's pretty straightforward, and we need to send the application before December 21st. So this is why we were bringing this tonight.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the next item. Item U, Integrity Commissioner RFP Report CL06 2020. The Council receives Report CL06 2019 dated December 7, 2020, and directs the Clerk and the Chief Administrative Officer to contact Jean-Jacques Lacombe to negotiate an offer of service contract for the services of an Integrity Commissioner and bring back a report and bylaw for Council's consideration. Madame Camré-Laflamme, Monsieur Leduc, I'm not sure who wants to, first off, is there any questions from members of Council on this one? No? Hearing no questions, anything to ajoute from the administration? Hearing none.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So if there's no question on the report, then we can remove the item for the closed session as it will not be needed.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that was just in case it was needed, and obviously it's not needed, so we won't go into closed session for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item V, Historical Plaque Program Policy and 2021 Plaques Report, CAO 08-2020. The Council receives Report CAO 08-2020, dated December 7, 2020, and approves 1, the proposed Historical Plaque Program Policy Appendix A, And 2, the addition of the suggested 5 new plaques to the historical plaque program in 2021, recognizing the following historical important assets. The Borne de la Liberté Freedom Marker for the 25th anniversary, receiving the item from Embrun, France. Second, Saint Jacques Church in Embrun, which played a significant role in the founding of Embrun and the Francophone community in Eastern Ontario. The third one, the New York Central Railway, connecting our community to Ottawa, Montreal, and New York City from 1898 until the first half of the 20th century, now the recreational trail. The Russell Brick Factory that manufactured bricks out of local clay for earlier brick-clad buildings in the Russell Village, also transported to Ottawa, Montreal, and New York City. And the Russell Train Station Complex, being the hub of local personal and commercial activity from 1898 to 1957. Questions, comments from members of council? We started this program last year, and Monsieur Leduc's had it on his business plan for a little while. Anything to add, Monsieur Leduc?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm quite happy that we've put words to paper here regarding this program. It's been there since 2019. We already have 3 plaques up. This report suggests 5. Obviously, there's funding for another 5. From this policy adoption, certainly we'll be coming back to council maybe to add at least maybe 3 more for next year. But certainly I'm quite happy for the Historical Society's participation as they're working on 2 plaques and funding a portion of the costs. And also I'd like to publicly thank Mr. Jean-Pierre Proulx, who in his previous work did that kind of work and was an assistance to us in establishing this policy. So, therefore, j'aimerais remercier M. Jean-Pierre Proulx pour son assistance dans l'élaboration des critères. Donc, ça va définitivement faciliter la sélection quand c'est une personne, un lieu ou un fait historique qui ont aidé à fonder notre communauté. So, we're looking forward to hear any suggestions from council and also from the public. I will be putting that in a communication plan regarding solicitation of various suggestions. And normally we would come back at every year's budget discussions to share with council the list. And this year, if we have more before then, we'll certainly be in front of council, just maybe suggesting a few more addition to this. So I'm quite happy with this. And I thank everybody for those participating. And I know the Historical Society is quite involved here regarding the Russell plaques. And I really, we're working with them to get that done for next summer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc. Conseiller Brisson, then Councillor Saucier.
Oui, je suis vraiment content de les noms qu'il y avait, comme les différents sites qui ont été mentionnés. La question que j'avais, c'était comme pour le chemin de fer du New York Central. Est-ce qu'il pouvait avoir même tout de bien à 2 endroits différents? Parce que personnellement, je crois que aura le parc Richelieu, d'où il y a les pires pour d'où il traversait la rivière. C'est quand même un lieu quand même kind of historique de le voir, ce chose-là, qu'il y a bien du monde qui ne savent pas. Mais de l'avoir aussi tout de bien une place plus visible, comme près du pavillon, à côté du Euphoria. Savoir s'il pouvait avoir comme 2 plaques pour ce même complexe-là, comme événement-là.
Okay. Merci, conseiller Buisson. Monsieur Leduc?
Oui, définitivement qu'il y a une plaque près du pavillon. Ça, c'est pratiquement dans nos plans. Pour l'autre plaque, la suggestion sur le pont, je pense que c'est ça que vous dites, M. Buisson. C'est quelque chose qu'on va regarder définitivement l'accessibilité à cet endroit-là pour laisser ça connaître, mais c'est une possibilité également.
OK, parfait. Merci. Councillor Saucier.
Yeah, I just wanted to just add that I'm, really pleased with all of these and also Councillor Brisson's suggestion of Richelieu Park. But I just noticed, people stopping and reading them, and they're a beautiful addition to the villages. And it's, if people are just tourists or coming to visit someone, they're really, really well presented. So I thank you for all your work on that, Mr. Leduc.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to correct myself, Mr. Mayor, there's 4 plaques in Russell, not 3 currently.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think the ultimate goal is, as we put more plaques in the township, is to create un trajet, si vous voulez, pour que les visiteurs puis les membres du public peuvent aller visiter tous les coins de la municipalité that has significant meaning for us here. Because like myself, many people are new to the area. I remember when I first moved here, there was a lot of questions. Why is this name this, or what's the significance of it? So this will be a way to keep history up front and available. So thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc. Next item, 11W, Monsieur Bourgon. It was a verbal report on the instance of a boil water advisory that happened late Friday.
Merci, Mr. Mayor. So I want to give Council a brief update or debrief of the sequence of events that led to the boil advisory that that was given by the health unit on Friday afternoon. So everything started on the Thursday around noon. The township staff did notice that a water meter was counting backwards. So staff took immediate action to investigate this commercial business in Embrun. Our finding was that the illegal cross connection between the private system and the municipal water system. So their water connection to our system was shut off immediately, and the cross connection was removed by the township operators. The pressure difference between the two systems and the information that we've got from the water meter led us to believe that there was a possible contamination to our system. Donc, nous avons immédiatement appelé le bureau de santé de l'Est ontarien ainsi que le ministère de l'Environnement, comme il est indiqué dans nos procédures. Nous avons aussi effectué plusieurs échantillons d'eau de notre système et ainsi vérifier les niveaux de chlore dans le système de distribution. À ce moment-là, le bureau de santé nous a indiqué ou nous a avisé qu'ils cédaient le dossier au ministère de l'Environnement et que l'investigation se poursuivrait le vendredi matin. Donc, le vendredi, le ministère a fait leur inspection autour de 11 heures avec la présence d'opérateurs de la municipalité. Le commerce en question a aussi effectué toutes les modifications nécessaires pour corriger la situation, donc installer un backflow preventer et ainsi fait des modifications à sa plomberie. Vers midi, vendredi, le ministère nous a avisé verbalement qu'un avis d'ébullition préventif serait mis en place par le bureau de santé. Donc, de notre côté, c'est devenu une question, là, comme on dit en anglais, un waiting game. At 2:40 Friday afternoon, the health unit did post on their website that there was a boil water advisory. We only received that notice at 3:15. So at that time, being official, we were able to start printing our notice and put everything in place to prepare doing our door-to-door to spread the word, and we also did all the necessary to post on our social medias. The door-to-door started around 4:30 and lasted until 9 o'clock that night. We had staff and volunteer on the road doing the door-to-door to advise our resident. Each team was assigned a section to do those door-to-door. Some overlapping portion of street were missed, but we quickly addressed the situation Friday night, but since we were starting to be late that night, some street were actually completed only Saturday morning. En parlant du porte-à-porte, je veux prendre l'opportunité de remercier tout le monde qui a participé au porte-à-porte vendredi soir. I would like to take the opportunity to thank everyone who participated in the door-to-door on Friday night. Donc, plus précisément, Madame Tremblay qui a visé plusieurs commerces, Maire Leroux, les pompiers d'Embrun, the Russell Fire Department, Madame Bueller, la surveillance d'Embrun, les auxiliaires de la police provinciale, Madame Bourdeau ainsi que son équipe, et surtout mon personnel du département d'infrastructure. So again, I would like to, it's a big thank to everyone that helped us Friday night. In order to lift the advisory, it's typical to receive two sets of sampling, two negative sets. and usually it's 24-hour interval in between each set of sampling. The first negative results were received Friday around 3 o'clock. Le résultat du deuxième échantillonnage a été reçu samedi après-midi vers les 3 heures et celui-ci était également négatif. Le bureau de santé ainsi que le ministère ont été immédiatement avisés. Après quelques suivis après le bureau de santé, on a finalement reçu l'avis qu'on pouvait lever dans le fond, à 18 heures, le bureau de santé nous a confirmé qu'il n'y a pas de contamination dans le système d'eau et le water boil advisory could be lifted. Donc, cette information a été partagée sur notre site web et médias sociaux immédiatement. I already asked the health unit and the ministry for a debrief of those events because I believe there's some timing and communication issue that we would like to address. During all that event, I can confirm to council that the township staff did follow all procedures in place and everything was done accordingly. So that's just an overview of what happened during those days and how it was handled.
Okay, thank you very much, Monsieur Bourgon. So to confirm, at no point in time was our water not potable. It was always, this was very much a precautionary measure put in place by the health unit until they got 2 days of testing, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Conseiller Lorrain, Conseiller Brisson?
Yeah, I'm assuming, and again, I don't know how much I can ask here and whether or not, because the business in question may be identifiable, if I have to ask my questions in closed session first. But I have many questions regarding things that activities that were performed or had to be performed. So I don't know how far I can go, Monsieur Leduc. So maybe you can give me some guidance here.
Monsieur Leduc?
Naming a business is not it's not identifying anybody. So therefore, if council wants to discuss that further and make this public, we can do that. As long as we don't identify individuals, then it's not an issue. Understanding that this might hurt some feelings and hurt some reputations regarding the corporation, but not individuals.
Understood, Conseiller Lorrain?
Okay, and again, I'm not here to say to want to name anybody, but my question relies then on what were the costs to the township to do everything they did from Thursday night to Sunday morning. What were the costs? Did we do any flushing of the system? Did we have people out doing that? Did we have to hire external companies to do the flushing? Is there a fine in our bylaw to anything like that if they knowingly had added an illegal connector, knowing what they were doing in the process? So I have all these questions in terms of cost recuperation for all the time and effort of the township staff. I have questions on what did it cost in materials for us? Did we have to hire external firms to do any work? And how do we recoup those costs? And are there fines that are leviable in any of our bylaws? So I don't know where to go from there, but I'm thinking that we have some unanswered questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Conseiller Lorrain. Not sure you have the answers to all those questions, Monsieur Bourgon, or are you planning to bring back a more in-depth report, an actual paper copy?
Yeah, definitely we are, and currently starting tomorrow morning, I'll be doing the cost analysis to know exactly how much an event cost the municipality. There are fine identified in our bylaw, so that's something I also have to work on. So I can definitely bring an update to council when there's more information available.
Okay, thank you. I think the intent here is to make sure that this put a lot of significant pressure on the township, put a lot of worry into people's minds and hearts in the village of Russell. People were affected, people were scared. We want to make sure that this, does not happen again. But, unfortunately, no system is perfect, and things do happen that are outside our control sometimes. So we want to make sure that we have the tools necessary to, I'll say, penalize those companies or individuals that cause these problems in the future. Conseil Lorrain?
Yeah, and just because I was asked by many members of the public on the Russell side, one of the reasons for Russell Village not being impacted is because the distribution to Russell and to Embrun are done separately. Is that out of the reservoir where we have different systems that go out once we get the Ottawa from the water from Ottawa? Is that accurate as to why that didn't occur for Russell side?
Monsieur Bourgon?
Monsieur Maire. So you're correct, Councillor Lorrain. So when the water leaves our reservoir to go to Russell or Embrun, there's appropriate valves that prevent that water from coming back to the reservoir and so then to the other villages. So that's why we were able to focus or to contain the boys advisory only in Embrun.
Okay, thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you.
Conseiller Brisson?
Oui, je suis content de savoir aussi qu'on n'a jamais eu de test positif que l'eau était contaminée, que c'est juste de quoi préventif qu'on a pris en chose. Puis aussi, j'aimerais féliciter tout le staff qui ont été obligés de faire du overtime, puis de dépêcher pour le faire, pour que tout le monde le sache, tout ça. Fait que juste un gros félicitations à tout le staff.
Okay, merci, Conseiller Brisson. At this point, I'd like to raise the issue of communication, if you will. I know that we had a lot of people that were upset in the methods that we took to communicate. I had emails in regards to, in 2020, why are we still going door to door? I just wanted to state that in 2020, going door to door is on top of the phone calls we made, on top of the website notification, on top of the electronic sign at City Hall, on top of the email system that we have in place. Residents have the option of signing up with the township to receive email notification. This is a key program to have in place specifically for these type of events. So yes, we did do door-to-door, which might seem old-fashioned, but we're taking every preventative measure possible. When we did, this happened approximately, I think, 7-8 years ago, and we went door to door and people were complaining because we didn't hit their door, or they didn't have the internet, or they didn't have email. So we try and get the message out as possible. Obviously, we have to be able to look at technology and see how we can improve things. And I think Madame Bourdeau and her team are looking specifically at those type of programs. We did have a conversation a few years ago about a auto robocall type system, but obviously that's a system where people actually have to sign up for. So we have to be able to put that message out there. We need participation. Communication is a two-way street. So, I think from our perspective, this is a good opportunity to share our email subscription to residents to get as many of them on board as possible. So when these type of events happen, we are able to share that communication. Obviously, Monsieur Leduc, Madame Bourdeau, as I mentioned, I think that we're always looking for examples elsewhere. Residents sent me an example of a Quinte West program that seems to be very successful started in 2008. But again, quickly looking at the site, people actually have to sign up for it. So maybe it's some advertising in our tax bills encouraging people to sign up. Monsieur Leduc?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I think things change over time. We'll certainly update our report that we had done back then, maybe 3-4 years back, to see what's changed, if costs have reduced significantly or not. But certainly, we'll be working on that and most likely bring some costs to council regarding next year's budget or the 22 budget. So this could be something we work on and get ready for next September discussions on budgets. So we'll add that to our business plan in next year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I know we're also having the service level review for bylaw services, so that might be part of the discussion as well. Councillor Saucier and then Conseiller Lorrain.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate and thank staff on what I consider a job really well done. And you're right about the notification, getting people to sign up for that email, because I was notified on my computer and then also notified when the boil advisory was lifted. So it's, you know, it's a good system. We just got, like you said, get people to sign up for it. And, but again, also, you know, you can call on your counselors too if you need some extra legwork out there. I would have been happy to go out door to door. So please ask next time. Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Saucier. Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, I'm just going to add, you know, for everything I said earlier, that, you know, I think that that Jonathan's team and Madame Baudot's team, I'm sure Bourgon, Madame Baudot's teams and all of staff did a good job. So I don't want to say anything that was negative to that. So hopefully that wasn't taken that way. Mm-hmm. The other question after Monsieur Leduc, and again, it goes towards communication, and we have I don't know how much the app is being used anymore or utilized in our stuff outside of, you know, social media, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram if we're doing it. But the application, the Russell Township app, do you know if we did do any push notifications on that? Because again, I didn't receive a push notification, and I know I'm subscribed to them. So I don't know if that part of it worked or not, or if it was enabled or not. So just something to consider when we're talking about the review of everything. Is I know I didn't get a push notification, and should I have or shouldn't I have, or was it utilized? I don't know. So I'm hoping that that we're utilizing everything.
Okay, thank you very much, Conseiller. Monsieur Leduc?
Unless Mr. Bourgon knows the answer, Mrs. Baudot knows the answer. If we don't, I will certainly send an email to all council members regarding if that was activated or not.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Leduc. Any other questions at this point in time? Félicitations, Monsieur Bourgon. Toi, toute l'équipe de la municipalité, job well done. I'm looking forward to hearing the debrief report you'll have with the Ministry and the Eastern Ontario Health Unit, because I do think that there was you know, significant lapses in communication on how things are being shared. So thank you. Next item we'll go is to reports, department investigator or the ombudsman. We have none. Item 13, avis de motion, on n'a pas. Item 14, question period and meeting of the day. So please, if you have a question to pose, please state your name and address for the record. We do have a few questions. Mr. Armstrong, 85 Castlebull Street, item 11U. Is Jean-Jacques Lacombe a lawyer in Ontario? Not sure if you have that answer. I'm not sure if it's relevant because Madame Camelet-Laflamme confirmed, but I believe that the integrity commissioner is not a requirement to be a lawyer in Ontario. Not sure if somebody has the answer, Monsieur Leduc.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, yes, definitely. I do have the answer. This is a retired legal counselor. Most likely for about, he was called to the bar in 1985. So, and then retired a few years back. So at least 20 years of experience as and doing all kinds of legal investigation, going to court, all these kinds of things. And for information to council, I have verified references from Mr. Lacombe, mainly from Champlain Municipality, who already has him under contract, and very high recommendations on the way he acts with the council and the public, and only good things to hear about this individual.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Armstrong, and the answer, Mr. Leduc. Monsieur Moreau, what about the cost to citizens who had to buy water Friday and Saturday? Thank you very much for the question, Monsieur Moreau. As indicated, Monsieur Bourgon, this was a preventative measure. If residents chose to buy the water, that was their choice, but they also had the choice of boiling their water for a minute. So I don't think we're looking at refunding anybody for water. No. Okay, that's what I thought. Mr. Armstrong, 85 Castlebeau, in regards to 11U again. What is Jean-Jacques Lacombe's professional / business status? Not sure, Monsieur Leduc.
He's on his own. It's not through a firm, so so strictly on his own as a retiree, and most likely to do business in Ontario, registered to charge HST if that's the case. So I don't, but not under a firm. No, individual.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no other questions, we will go on to the next item. Next item is resolution. Motion that council approves all recommendations listed on the agenda under number 11, reports from departments and council committee. And I think we have a few that were separated, Madame Cameron-Laflamme.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Give me a second. So we have except 11A, P, Q, and S.
Okay, so a motion that council approve all recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, reports from departments, council committee, and then we'll remove those 4 items after we put on the table. So need a mover and a seconder to put on the table. Moved by Conseiller Brisson, second by Conseiller Lorrain. For an amendment to remove A, P, Q, and S, do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Saucier. Everybody okay with removing those 4?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so those 4 items. So we're voting on everything except those 4 items, and then we'll do those individually. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Mike Ternosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Perfect. So everything else is carried. So item A, which was the rapport PR 23-2020, le complexe récréatif. So I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. So moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Councillor Lorrain. So it is on the table. So if there's any questions on this item, amendments, now's the time. Councillor Lorrain, then Councillor Saucier.
I have a question for Mr. Leduc. So with the components that are being considered right now and that are going to be costed in July, they include the theater, they include the pool. Why do we name the library separately under the actual resolution?
Mr. Leduc?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Lorrain, for the question. 2 things. One is that from the first or the second version of the site plan that was presented to council during budget discussion, there was no mention about the library being included in that complex building. So I want to make sure that council had recognized that that was there. And furthermore, because of our strategic plan, which was quite specific regarding making a decision before the end of the year of 2020, as far as a potential location for that branch, that's why I wanted to make it specific. So if council would have said to me tonight, put it out, you continue finding another location in town, removing it from the community hub, that was why I was specific about it. So if you remove it to say find another location elsewhere, and that removing forward would mean that to me. So I would continue on finding more location or more opportunities. But being there, if it's passed as is, then it means that no matter if it's going to be a single library or a 2 branch library version, it's not the matter right now. It's that it will stay there if it's there, and if it's not there, then I'm continuing to work to find some other location. That was strictly the reason why I put it there. And I want to be clear on our reporting on our strategic plan that we did address it before the end of 2020.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Leduc. I think just to add to that, there's also the third aspect is to specify, our resources are being put everywhere for the last year in regards to the library. The library board's looking at different places. We've been given direction to Monsieur Leduc. Oh, look at this place, look at this place, look at this place. This is really putting an end to the discussion in the sense that this is where the future library in Embrun is going. So I think that's a third aspect to, so everybody knows that's where the direction that's council is going. Conseil Larin, follow up?
Just to follow up, then can't we include the term Emblem Library Branch rather than just a library? And that would meet the objectives.
Councillor Tarnowski?
In that same vein, then I would think that we should also say one rink.
Oh, come on now, really?
Well, if you want to go that way, like what you're doing is you're kind of cornering something that is supposed to be an open process for stakeholders to discuss and agree. I want an Emblem branch. I'm saying
I want an Emblem branch.
But
absolutely.
I
do not,
I'm
one
sorry.
time, it's Councillor Tarnowski's turn to speak.
Thank you. I want an Emblem branch, but I also do not want to stop the voice of all the stakeholders into this discussion. At this point, Monsieur Leduc and the team at Colliers are presenting something that's open. Again, my personal preference is to have a branch in Emblem, but I think that putting something here is really defeating the purpose of opening it up where all our stakeholders will have a say and us deciding today, right now, what it should be. So if you want to go down that route, I'll say I want one rink only. I mean, if we're going to start making changes and making all the decisions ahead of time, maybe I don't think it's very productive.
Okay.
I think, sorry, one last point. I think publicly we're all saying that there is nothing that is indicating that we're trying to make a central branch or that it's going to be an Emblem branch only. It's just that it should be a library in there. And this is which I think is also important is that, and to Monsieur Leduc's credit, is that we've been with the library board trying to find a place unsuccessfully for the last 6 or 7 years since I've been on the library board. And now we finally have a place where we're designating one and we're going to start putting roadblocks again. I think this is absurd. Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to know, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to know what the roadblock is by everyone saying that we want to put a library, an Emblem branch library, and that's what we've been spending all this time and energy on over the last 6 years, as Councillor Tarnowski said. Then why are we not saying it's the Emblem branch library? And I go back to comments made by members of council in previous discussions, and I'll even put campaigns that have stated that they want to close the Russell branch of the library. And that would mean that we create a central library in the middle of where the rec complex goes. And by agreeing to this today, am I agreeing to the possibility of a central library? And if I'm agreeing to that in this resolution, then I can't agree to the proposition, because nowhere do I want to remove the Russell Library branch for a central location.
So to clarify, Mr. Conseil Larin, it's not being suggested at all that it's going to be a central library. We're saying there's going to be a library in this complex. There will be further points, as indicated in the timeline from Colliers, where council members will be able to vote on different aspects of the process as we move forward. To Councillor Tarnowski's point, he's saying we have a whole component of this where it's to engage the public, engage stakeholders, and find out and get the financial plan. Like this is just, we're trying to move this project forward. Nobody at this point in time is saying close the Russell Library. That's not it at all. We're saying that we want a library in this location. It will come, if that discussion comes up, then it'll come up, but it'll come back at a later point in time. By voting here tonight, you are not agreeing that the Russell Library closed, by no means at all.
I just think we're playing fast and loose with the word library here, and that's what I want to.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Saucier and then Conseil Brisson.
Yeah, well, I don't want to close the door on looking at other possibilities either. And I mean, I have to agree with Councillor Laurent on the fact that I don't see the issue with just stating that we want to have the Emblem branch in that building. You know, I've always been very outspoken also about the fact of the Russell branch, that It's located within walking distance of schools and, you know, for seniors who don't drive, daycares that use it every week, and there's no way they could bus to a central. So I just want to make sure that we're sort of protecting that, and that's where I'm sort of concerned, like Councillor Laurent. I certainly don't want to slow this process or change anything or make stakeholders not be interested in it. You know, I think it's a wonderful initiative that we're going to finally, you know, have a library branch in there, but I really strongly do not want to lose the Russell branch. So I just want to make that public, and you know, I will take a recorded vote if I have to also. Thank you.
Thank you. Conseiller Brisson?
Je propose le changement suivant, que le nom que l'inclusion d'une bibliothèque d'Embrun soit mis, juste pour qu'on cut short des discussions, parce que vraiment, c'est un projet majeur qu'on veut. Ça fait que pour pas faire de chicane, je demande qu'il y ait cet amendement-là de fait comme c'est là, que c'est accepte l'inclusion de la bibliothèque d'Embrun. Puis si par après on décide de le faire ensemble, ça sera mais qu'on décide. Mais pour asseoir, pour pas avoir de chicane puis tout, puis que le projet aille de devant, c'est ma proposition. Ça va me prendre un secondaire. Merci.
Okay, so agrees to include an embry or an Embrum library as proposed in the legislation. So we're just adding the word Embrun. C'est ça que tu proposes, conseiller Laurent? Excuse, conseiller Brisson?
Oui.
Okay, do we have a seconder on that one? Seconded by conseiller Laurent. So questions on that amendment? Councillor Tonoski.
Question pour M. Leduc. Monsieur Leduc, en mettant Embrun, est-ce qu'on s'empêche de faire quoi que ce soit dans le futur si les stakeholders nous trouvent des bonnes idées sur lesquelles on ne pense pas en ce moment? Est-ce qu'on se bloque d'une façon ou d'une autre? Ou est-ce qu'on aura quand même l'habilité de faire des changements si on a des bonnes propositions?
C'est un peu une question glissante, conseiller Tarnowski, dans le sens que j'aurais aimé ça que toutes les discussions soient lieu. Faut reconnaître que dans le plan stratégique de la bibliothèque, c'est clair qu'il parlait longtemps passé d'une seule bibliothèque à travers la municipalité. Je ne veux pas fermer la porte à cette question-là, dans le sens que j'aimerais explorer l'idée. Peut-être que le conseil d'administration ou même le staff de la bibliothèque pense que c'est une bonne idée. Si le conseil dit non ce soir, ben, ça ferme la porte à ça. Mais idéalement, j'aurais aimé ça explorer toutes les options. Vous m'avez mandaté de regarder un serviceable review la 2 semaines passées. Et puis, dès la première position, on vient fermer les livres tout de suite. Bien, je te souviens de poser la question au conseil. Est-ce que je vais dorénavant exclure certains items d'une étude de niveau de service? Donc, pour moi, j'aurais aimé ça, parler, voir les options, voir les coûts, amener un rapport au conseil, vraiment être transparent quand même avec la question. Mais non, moi, je pense pas que je vais m'empêcher de poser la question. Alors, moi, le conseil m'a dit spécifiquement de tenir loin de ça et de ne pas toucher à ça. Mais j'avais l'intention au moins en échanger avec la direction. Puis, la direction a décidé de son côté si elle veut jaser avec son panel ou son board de la bibliothèque.
OK. Merci beaucoup, M. Leduc. Conseiller Brisson?
Personnellement, je ne crois pas. Je pense que c'est juste pour simplifier ce soir. Parce qu'en mettant le mot Embrun pour la bibliothèque, on a vraiment besoin de sortir de l'école il nous a été présenté comme quoi on va avoir les coûts qui vont nous être amenés avec le coût d'opération. Donc, mais qui amène pour la bibliothèque, ça peut être à ce temps-là qu'il soit amené, OK, si c'est juste pour la bibliothèque d'Embrun, ça prend une telle grandeur. Si c'est pour plus grand, ça prend une telle grandeur, donc les coûts. Mais amener ça au prochain coup, pareil comme que ça va être décidé pour la piscine ou qu'on décide pour un gymnase ou un éditorium. Mais pour ce soir, c'est juste pour dire à ceux d'Embrun, dire, OK, on a une location pour la bibliothèque, on peut dormir tranquille, ça ne s'en va pas ailleurs non plus, on a une place, on a ça peut prendre un délai. Ça se peut qu'elle soit située temporairement ailleurs, mais je ne vois pas de problème de mettre en brun comme c'est là, que ça nous bloque par après. C'est pour ça que je le mets comme c'est là.
Okay. Merci, M. Brisson. Juste pour clarifier, je pense pas que c'est l'intention avec cette résolution-là de regarder la possibilité que la bibliothèque d'Embrun soit localisée temporairement qu'à part d'autres. Like, we're making the decision, it's staying at the school until such time as that it's built in a complex if we go in that direction. I just throwing it out there because you made mention that it might be moving temporarily somewhere else. I don't think that's the discussion to have this evening, if ever, you know, it wants to be raised again. But in my mind, the decision is made. That's where it's going to go. What it's going to look like, what size it'll be, all those questions will be answered at a later point in time. But the decision is that eventually, once it leaves the school, it's because it's going to that center, to that location, the community hub that we're creating in the middle of all our communities. So.
Ouais, j'aime mieux mentionner que j'ai dit ça parce que c'est quand même en 2023. On ne sait pas qu'est-ce qui peut arriver avec le COVID, avec toutes sortes d'affaires. C'est pour ça que j'ai dit peut-être, mais que pour la chose, amenez-moi qu'est-ce qu'il y a le coût, puis on discutera par après, mais je ne pense pas que ça ferme la porte à personne. C'est pour ça que je l'amenais. Fait que là, on a une résolution sur la table, ça fait que j'aimerais avoir le vote.
Ben, s'il y a des questions, il y a des questions.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. De la façon que le conseiller Brisson l'explique, moi, je serais prêt à supporter the amendment, mais je vais encore publicly voice I'm disappointed, as Monsieur Leduc says, that we're kind of almost closing doors. I hope that we'll be able to still see, you know, if there are any other possibilities when we look at it, as Conseiller Brisson was saying, if maybe there is opportunities for where there is value in doing that, because a central, like if there was a central library idea where there would be more space and more services offered to our entire community, and if there was maybe, you know, whatever those options may be, I hope that we're still going to be able to somehow look at that. I'm just really disappointed that before we even get started on any of these community-driven projects where we want community input, that we're already putting in our 2 cents saying no. So anyways, again, in the scope of trying to get this moving forward, I will agree with Conseiller Brisson's amendment.
Okay, so any more questions on that, on the amendment itself? So no, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the amendment?
Mike Ternosky, yes.
Andre, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Perfect. The amendment is carried. Any further questions as on the resolution as changed? Conseiller Brisson?
Oui, moi, c'était juste au point de 3 d'accorder l'exemption de la politique d'achat. J'aimerais avoir l'opinion des autres. Je sais que ça peut retarder peut-être l'exécution. C'est juste qu'on n'a jamais été en soumission pour cette firme-là. Est-ce que c'est la meilleure pour avoir? Est-ce que on n'a jamais eu de fonction pour considérer l'argent? Ça fait que c'est pour ça que je voulais avoir l'opinion des autres conseillers.
Okay.
Parce que moi, j'ai un peu de misère à accorder à une personne, mais c'est pour ça que je voulais.
Okay. Monsieur Leduc?
Monsieur le maire, membre du conseil, M. Brisson, je vais corriger le mot « jamais », parce que ce projet-là, ça fait quand même plusieurs années que moi, j'y travaille. Puis au minimum 3 ou 4 ans passés, le comité qui existait par rapport au REC Complex a été présenté 2 ou 3 firmes chargées de dessiner le projet, dont Colliers. Donc, c'est de là qu'on a fait la rencontre. Donc, c'est dans ce sens-là que, par contre, dans les phases 1 et 2, on voulait cette firme-là. Les frais sont minimales par rapport à cette firme-là. Par contre, pour la question de gestion d'un projet de construction à la phase 3 ou la phase 4, c'est définitif qu'on veut amener un processus compétitif pour la gestion de projet qui va être beaucoup plus grand et beaucoup plus dispendieux à ce moment-là. Donc, c'est dans ce sens-là que je dois corriger le mot « jamais », parce que le mot « jamais », dans ce cas-ci, ne serait pas approprié.
Okay, merci. Conseiller Lorraine had a question?
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment because he was asking our opinion. And I think for the the work that they've put in on this project already, having done the presentation back in August, having worked with the submission for the ministry for the grant, I think that they're perfectly positioned with all the historical information that's required to move forward on this. I feel comfortable moving forward with them, and again, I'm not someone who takes exemptions to sole source any type of project lightly, but I'm comfortable in this circumstance.
Okay, thank you very much, Conseil Lorrain. Any other thoughts on it? I'm fine with it. Okay. Nothing. Monsieur Brisson, conseiller Brisson, tu avais un autre commentaire?
Non, ben, c'était juste le commentaire que oui, on avait eu les 4 firmes qui nous avaient fait une présentation, mais le point de vue financier n'avait jamais été amené. Fait que c'était juste pour ça que j'amenais la question, mais j'ai pas de problème si les autres veulent y aller, il n'y a pas de problème, parce que j'ai jamais vu de chiffre comparé d'une firme à l'autre. Mais si les autres n'ont pas de problème, je suis go ahead.
Okay, parfait. Monsieur Leduc, y avait-il quelque chose d'autre que vous voulez ajouter?
Ben, point de vue financier, c'est plutôt notre département de finances qui prépare la plupart des chiffres. C'est sûr que les coûts de construction, c'est des coûts anticipés puis ils vont être validés avec des appels d'offres. Mais pour l'instant, c'est au moins un ballpark figure.
Okay, parfait beaucoup. If there's no further questions, we'll vote on the item A as amended. So I'll call for, I'll ask for a registered vote. This is a very important project, so let's send a clear message. So I'll ask for a registered vote, please. Go ahead.
Mike Ternosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Sosa, yes.
And myself, yes. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. The next item was item P, which was the improvement at the intersection of Edie Road and Route 200. So I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. So moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Saucier. So Councillor Lorrain.
Yeah, I just wanted it separated because I wanted to make the comment that I'm gonna agree to the mitigations that are in place that are being recommended, but that I would like a review of this done within the year to see whether or not there's been any additional accidents, or if any changes come from the ministry, that we have the ability to then implement a 4-way stop at that location.
Okay, thank you very much, Conseiller Lorrain. Any other questions or comments? If not, I shall call for the vote. All those in favor?
Mike Ternosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
So that's as amended by Councillor Laurent?
No, that's as stated in the report.
Well, I agree with his recommendation of bringing it back in a year and looking at this again.
That's the direction of given to the administration. They'll come back. It doesn't need to be in the resolution itself.
Okay, all right, then I'm in favor.
Okay, so the item is carried. Next item is item Q, user fee correction for the sports dome. So I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Councillor Ternosky, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. I think if I remember well, Conseiller Lorrain, you had something to add to this one?
Yeah, I'd just like to add in the fact for the walking trail that children under the age of 12 accompanied by an adult are free of charge to use the walking track. I know there was some confusion on that item with phone calls to the dome, so it was silent on that. So I just wanted to make sure that that was added in at this time.
Okay, so we'll at the very last line, instead of a period, we'll put a virgule, and we'll say and that children aged 12 and under accompanied by an adult have free use of the walking track. That's perfect.
Yeah, Monsieur Mayor.
Yeah.
And also, I think Madame Guittard was going to remove that basketball courts are not available right now. because we're advertising for basketball and we don't have any basketball.
Okay, so
I'll
let's
throw
add,
that in. I'll throw that into my amendment so that we don't have to have a second amendment.
okay, so just throw it in and at the very end, and to remove the term basketball from the user fee bylaw,
For the sports dome.
or the sports dome multi-court. Okay,
Yeah, I'll move it.
moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Saucier. All those in favor of the amendment?
Mike Ternosky, oui.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
The amendment is carried. So now we'll vote on it as amended. All those in favor?
Mike Ternosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Okay, item is carried. OK, le prochain item, c'était l'item S, Community Grants Report PR 24-2020. Ça, c'était pour la recommandation, c'était de refuser la demande de 1 000 $ pour Limoges. So I'll need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Councillor Brisson, seconded by Councillor Saucier. Questions, comments, amendments? Conseiller Brisson.
J'aimerais faire l'amendement qu'au lieu de refuser, que ça soit accepté le don ponctuel.
Okay, so we have a mover for that amendment. Councillor Saucier.
Yeah, and I just want to add, you know, the Optimists do an awful lot for this community. And they're always at events, you know, they're at the blood donor clinics, they're just always helping out. So I would like to help them this Christmas.
So you're seconding the amendment?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so the amendment is on the table. Questions, comments? I'm open to the amendment, but I do not want this to become a recurring theme of $1,000 a year that specifically is being used to pay for a private company to put it up, because that's essentially what's going on. So if council is willing to entertain the idea of another amendment, which that would put an end to it and say this is the only year, and automatically this ask gets turned down in the future if it's for the same thing, I'd be open to voting in favor. But if we're not putting it a limit of 1 year, then I have no interest in supporting it at this time. Councillor Lorrain?
Yeah, so the reason why it was declined, was it because it didn't meet the qualifications? And I'm only asking that because I think your condition may be moot, because it would have to come to council either way when it's declined. So I'm just saying, if it's already against the purchasing the community grants policy, then by saying that we're not going to approve it in the future, that's just saying that it doesn't meet the criteria and would have to come to us anyway again.
No, I was looking at it from the point of view that we're giving direction to the staff that it's automatically turned down in the future. It doesn't even need to come to council. But I'll let Madame Guitard speak to that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In fact, we had the same discussion last year when I brought this to council, and I did not agree to spend $1,000 on a rental for lights. And I had to explain all my reasoning behind this, and council had approved, and council had already said also that you did not agree that this would be recurring each year. And then we came back at the last minute and we said, okay, council said, okay, if Nation and the other supporting agencies were giving out the money that they had promised to, then you would give the money, which was $500, I think, last year. It would be okay, but only for last year. This year, I brought it back again because it's typically the same activity. The only thing this year, they were stating the fact that they did not use the $1,000 that we usually give them for their Canada Day events. So they wanted to use that money, and I said, well, we can't just give you a check for another event without going back to council, because this money was pre-approved for a Canada Day celebration. So this is how it came back to council, and this is why, you know, I stuck to my decision from last year, and I brought it back to council.
Thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc.
Madame Guittard, I understand what you just said, notwithstanding that, but to Councillor Lorraine's question, would this request meet the policy? Yes or no? If it's no, then it has to be presented like the way we did. But would it meet normally the policy that we have in place right now?
Madame Guittard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Usually no, because it's not a fundraising event. It's more a community event. So basically we're paying for rental of the company.
Yeah, that's not the question. The question was more if
it's not needed. It's not eligible. No.
Okay. So we have an amendment on the table. Monsieur Brisson, tu veux commenter?
C'est juste, je comprends pas la différence de quand tu arrives un autre événement, parce que c'est comme un événement de l'illumination de l'arbre. C'est juste mon commentaire que je voulais faire, là, que c'est un événement aussi. Puis, juste pas oublier que je voudrais pas fermer la porte non plus, et définitivement, parce que qu'est-ce qui dit que Russell va pas être obligé d'avoir des fonds qui voudraient avoir de l'aide aussi. Puis je serais prêt à leur donner un coup de main aussi, parce que c'est des coûts. C'est un événement rassembleur au temps de Noël. Fait que ça, c'est mon commentaire.
OK. Councillor Saucier?
I would support your amendment, Mr. Mayor, that it's just a one-time acceptance of it. I'm also thinking due to COVID and people are just trying to be cheery and light up their villages. So I want to support them on this.
Okay. Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I want to state that I'm in favor of this year doing it. I agree with the mayor. I think last year we said we would do it only if, and I'm assuming they used the money last year, the $500. So that would be twice now we've done it. And I think after this year, I think we would need to, under the policy, it wouldn't fit. So it would come back to us anyway. And I'm assuming that council at that point in time would say, you know what, we've said no twice. Do we need to add an amendment to it? Mr. Mayor, if you think that we do need it, then I would second the amendment to that. I don't think we need it. I think we have it on record now twice that we've given in an exceptional circumstance. That a third time probably would be no to this group because we've approved it twice already. So I'm comfortable either way, and I'm comfortable to move forward with this year's request.
Okay. So we have an amendment on the table, so I'll call the amendment as stated is that we change the deny to approve, basically. So it would be change the word refuse to approve. So we have it moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Councillor Saucier. I'll call the vote on the amendment. All those in favor?
Mike Chernosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Perfect. So everybody, as long as we understand each other, it's going to come back most likely next year. And I'll just remind everybody at that point in time of the discussion that we had here today, but I'm fine leaving it as is. So all those in favor as amended.
Mike Chernosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Saucier, yes.
Okay, perfect. The item is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. We are going on to item 16, which is bylaws. As per the beginning of the meeting, 143 is already separate, so I'll ask for the vote on everything else, and then we'll deal with 143 separately. So a motion that council approve bylaws 2020-144 to 2020-157 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder to put on the table. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Chernosky. Sorry, my question. Yeah, my internet is fuzzy again here. So who do we got?
Jamie.
Jamie, Councillor Lorrain, go ahead.
So, question is 143. Which one is 143?
That's the diversity community members, appointment of the members on that committee.
Okay, then I think I'd also asked for one of the items to be removed out because I asked it to be removed out from the resolutions. And if I'm not mistaken, it's probably the one for the
It's 155 for the user
155.
fees.
Yeah. So that
And
we have
Mr. Mayor, there's also 157 that should be dealt separately for the bus line because it's removed.
Okay, so 143 was removed as per the approval of the agenda. So now we put all these on the table. So I need a motion or an amendment to remove 155 and 157. So do I have a mover and a seconder to remove 155 and 157?
Jamie moves.
Okay, seconded.
Mike T.
Okay, Councillor Tarnowski. All those in favor of the amendment?
Mike Tarnowski, yes.
Andre, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy, yes.
Okay, so those two items are removed. So let's vote on everything else. All those in favor of everything else?
Mike Tarnowski, oui.
Andre, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Sosa, yes.
Okay, carried. So now we will go with, let's do 143. And I believe, Madame Carine-Laflamme, you'll have something to share on the screen for members of council. So this was just to, I'm making a recommendation. We had a member of the committee that had stepped down, so there was a position that was open. We reposted the position, and there was enough members that I felt that we had the ability to bring it up to six members of the public plus one member of council committee, so a total of 7. So I'm asking that the people listed on the report be included. I believe what we had indicated vacant for one of the positions. I was just waiting to hear back from the individual during the weekend, but her name is Julie Matt, and we've added her to the list. Je suis pas certain, Madame Carine-Laflamme, c'est qui va partager l'écran?
With Mr. Mayor, we're already seeing it. Marie shared her screen.
Okay, perfect.
So it's number G, and it's Julie Mallette that was added instead of the vacant position. And we also removed 3 little places where we referred to the bylaw. That was the amendment. That was bylaw 2020-104. So that was mentioned in the title of the bylaw, section 1 and section 3. So since there was an amendment made, we just removed the reference to that bylaw because it's not really, it doesn't have to be in this bylaw.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Not sure if members of council have, actually we need to put it on the table first. So I need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Anybody?
Jamie is good.
Mike.
Okay, Councillor Lorraine, Councillor Tarnowski. Any questions, members of council?
No.
Okay, if there's no questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Mr.
Mike
Mayor.
Turner.
Sorry. Mr. Mayor,
Sorry.
is there a spelling mistake for Ashik? Is it Ashik Barber or is it Babber as it is?
No, that's correct.
That is correct, Mr. Leduc.
Perfect, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, questions? All those in favor?
Mike Tarnowski, yes.
Andre, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Sosa, yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. The committee is looking forward to presenting something for council consideration, hopefully in the short term. The next item on the agenda, or the bylaws that was separate, was 2020-155, and that was the user fees for the Park and Recreation, being a bylaw to amend Schedule A9, Parks and Recreation fees of the user and charges bylaw 2020-130, with respect to the elimination of the semi-annual pass, in addition of reduced rate of non-time fees, multiple court report 2020. Need a mover and a seconder to put it on the table, please.
Oui, Andre.
Conseiller Brisson, seconded by
Mike Tarnowski.
Councillor Tarnowski. Thank you very much. questions, comments on this one? I'm not sure if there was somebody specific that wanted to make an amendment or change.
I just wanted to make sure that we added, that it was added in based on the resolution.
Okay. Perfect. That'll be appropriately done, Madame Camille-Laflamme.
Yes, this will be done tomorrow morning, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you.
We don't need to do anything in terms of an amendment or anything, so we're good.
Yes, we'll just add, like Mr. Mayor said, that this is amended as per the resolution that was adopted earlier.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Mike Ternowski, yes.
Andre, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy Sosa, yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Carried. Madame Camille-Laflamme, for the last one, 2020-157, in regards to the report for the transit, I guess I should have specified to remove the bylaw at the beginning as well.
Yeah, we'll just add in the minutes that the bylaw was also included and that this one was removed from the agenda at number 4.
Okay, everybody's okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, item 17, new business reports. We have none. Item 18, other business reports presented by council members, myself. Pilot project overnight parking. I'm not sure. I wanted to bring this issue. I'm not sure if members of council have had requests similar. I've had requests for people being able to use township parking lots, for example, the arena or the park and ride, to park overnight during the winter time for various reasons. One example I know is a lot of people have kids that were normally gone to university, gone to school, they have a car, now they're back home studying from home and they don't necessarily have the space anymore because of the overnight parking ban we have in effect. So I just wanted to see what the thoughts were from members of council. I know that our administration has given warning letters at a few instances to residents who are parking overnight in our arena parking lot. So I just wanted to see if you've heard anything, if there's any thoughts on the matter, if we want to give direction to Monsieur Leduc to look at that issue to try and find a solution, you know, whether it be a permit situation where we're selling permits off to park there or whatever the case is. But I do know that with the influx of, you know, more people working at home, you know, and less kids going to school, we've seen that there is not necessarily the best parking situation for some families right now. Thoughts on the matter? Councillor Associate, Councillor Ternowski?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about this, but I mean, I could see having some kind of permit, you know, reasonably priced or something. My concern though is, like, you know, at the arenas when it's really busy with hockey or other events and the parking lot can be quite full. And if you've got people parking there, you know, they're probably taking their car fairly early and leaving it. They're not going to come out at midnight to park their cars. So I guess that's my only concern, is that it's taking up space for the users of the facility. That's all.
Okay, thanks. Like I say, this is more strictly, in my sense, it's more strictly for overnight parking. Obviously, there would be, Monsieur Leduc will have to investigate the logistics and the insurance and, you know, the operational side of things, if it's feasible, what's feasible. But I just wanted to bring it up for conversation. Councillor Ternowski?
So I have heard that as well. And I think given the extraordinary circumstance with COVID right now, I think that we should really look at a way that we can support our community this way as an exceptional year. And I would defer to administration of kind of trying to come up with a plan that would work in the sense of maybe having like a certain zone that we would allow parking. And to Councillor Saucier's point, I think one of the things that we for sure this year in the arenas is we won't have as much traffic in terms of additional, parents coming to watch or grandparents coming to watch games and so on, because that's not happening as well. So I think that could mitigate some of those concerns, but I would leave it up to admin to give us a recommendation on that. But I would like to support our community that way.
Okay, thank you very much. I think another point to add is that we're putting a hold to our transit system next year. So the established park and rides that we have might be a viable option as well. My internet's very slow and choppy, so I'm not sure if André, conseiller Bisson, allez-y.
Yeah, because I haven't heard anything, but I know like on the news that they were talking about Gatineau that has a system like this for overnight parking. So I would be in favor of looking what we can accommodate. Maybe like with having some strict rules that if they park there, they have to be out for a certain time so that the cleaning of the parking has to be done. And we have to admit that there's no big activities like for the hall in Embrun, things like that. So, and we have more crowded housing too that is building. So it might be a problem for later on, but I know that for this year, as you were stating, there's a lot of kids that are doing at-home schooling. So I would be in favor of this to look at that possibility.
Okay, thank you. Conseiller Lorrain?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to look at it and see what that would look like, and have staff come back with a report on that, and whether there'd be a cost structure or not, or it's all permit based, where they have to come in and get a permit for it and whatnot. So I'm open to have staff look into it and come back to us for sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Monsieur Leduc, I'm not sure if you have a comment at this point in time.
Yeah, I think, council members, that for an exceptional situation, I think there's room to look at, and certainly there'll be a bigger report or more implication regarding a permanent solution. So there might be other options available, so we'll certainly assess them and make a full report to council. Maybe going to be a two-phase approach where only for next year could be an immediate response as soon as possible, and maybe a more permanent option or options discussed later on for next year. So I might approach that in two phases.
Okay, thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc. I know it's tight schedule, if you will, but our next meeting is 2 weeks, and after that, it won't be till mid to late January. Is it possible to have something in place, or my only worry is right now is that we have some people that need to use our facilities, and if the report or the direction on this only comes in late January, we might be finding people getting tickets when it's the intention of council to try and find a possible solution. So,
yeah, that's why Mr. Mayor was suggesting two-phase, because I understand that's where you were going with this. So, so I expected to do that in two-phase. Obviously, there's an understanding here. There will be some risk management, and there'll also be some maintenance issues regarding snow removal. So. If that's a take-in that council is willing to entertain that, then that's something that we can do for the next report, for next council meeting, for at least the next year or this winter's options, and for a more permanent option will be a bigger report later on.
Perfect. I'm quite happy with that. Thank you very much, Monsieur Leduc. Thank you very much to council to entertain that process.
Mr. Mayor, can I make one more comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Conseiller Lorrain.
Considering that we've already got people parking there and getting warnings, do we need to ask for some sort of a suspension of the execution or of the issuance of any tickets? Maybe just warnings for the next 2 weeks until we get that report back? I don't know where you wanted to go with that, but I don't know if that's something, because you may get people getting tickets now.
Well, I think it's correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Leduc, but I think it's up to the discretion of the administration in this point in time, and I'm fine with you guys using your judgment. I'm not sure if you want a clear direction in that sense, that we're you know, I just find it's getting into the operational side of things, but your thoughts, Monsieur Leduc?
Mr. Mayor, I think Mrs. Blue and I had some discussion on this. We're already using that judgment to more on the warning side right now, knowing that this item is being discussed by council. Obviously, there was an exaggeration of usage right now. Our big issue would be addressing it, but for time being, we'll be continuing with the warning at this point.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Leduc. Perfect, thank you very much. The next item, myself, King Club X's Christmas fundraiser. It was just to let the members of the public know, in case they're not aware, there's a Christmas lights and decoration contest going on by the King Club of Russell, and it's good for all the residents in the township. It's not just a specific village, it's open to all 4 villages, and funds being raised are going to the food bank. So I invite you to go check out on the website, kingclubofrussell.ca, or to look at their Facebook page for details on how this can, you know, have some fun, light up your house, give some funds to the food bank. It's a win-win for everybody. So thank you very much on that. I think we had another item, which was Conseiller Brisson on the parking at the 417.
Yeah, it was just to have a kind of update, because I know that I had a lot of questions about the people asking, because there's been a flood at the parking that was not there the other years. I know the problem is since at least September. I know in October I didn't mention it, and they even pump. So I was just wondering if there was a culvert that was blocked crossing the St. Pierre Road. What's the update on this?
Okay, thank you, Conseiller Brisson. Monsieur Bourgon, I assume this is falling under your purview?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. So yes, we're aware of the situation. We're currently working on it. We're trying to coordinate with the MTO as well, since part of it was when they did the widening and construction of the light. I can confirm there's no culvert block at St. Pierre. So yeah, we're working on it. We're aware of the situation.
So it was the work they performed was this is an unintended consequence? Exactly.
It seems like the like our parking ride was kind of draining towards the 417. So now we need to look at if we can work with them, or to find an alternate situation until we move forward with the construction of the roundabout next summer.
Okay, perfect. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Bourgon. That's okay for you, Monsieur Brisson?
Yeah, because whenever I went to look today, I know that there's another culvert that just on the other side of the St. Pierre Road that cross on the other side. So I know that something has to be done. Luckily, there's not as many people that park there, but whenever you see it flooding up to the first entrance, blocking the first entrance, it doesn't look good. So
okay, merci beaucoup. Staff are looking into it, and hopefully they'll find a solution sooner rather than later. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Item 19, consultation publique, audience, il n'y a pas. On s'en va à huis clos. We're going into closed session. And pursuant to sections 23923 3 and 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25. Motion to move into closed session at the hour of 9:20 p.m. to address matters pertaining to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25, to consider matters relating to 1. Proposed or pending acquisition land in Embrun, report CS15 2020, under Section 2C, a proposal or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Item 2 was removed since we had no questions on the matter. And item 3, closed session minutes of the regular council meeting dated November 16, 2020. I need a mover and a seconder to go into closed session, please.
Oui.
Conseiller and Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor?
Mike Ternosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy, yes.
Perfect. We are now going into closed session. Thank you very much, everyone. For those new to our process, we're going into a separate meeting away from the public, as per the law that permits it to discuss certain subjects. When we come back, we will report a brief report on the discussions, and then we will have our confirming bylaw and we will adjourn our meeting. So if you're more than welcome to stay and watch, but it might take a little while. It's up to you. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. Not sure if you guys can see me or hear me.
Yes, we can.
You can hear me? Okay, perfect. My screen again is blank. I don't see anybody. So I see in the attendance that members of council are back. Our clerk is back. Our CAO is back. Item B, report out of closed session. Madame Camille-Laflamme?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So we're reporting back at 9:33 p.m. So for the first item, council was briefed on the agreement of purchase of property located at 215 Industrial Street in Embrun. And council wants to proceed with the purchase of the property and adopt a bylaw authorizing the CAO and the clerk to sign the documents for the purchase of the property. So as a result of the closed session, we will be having this motion presented to council.
Okay.
Number 2, that was not discussed. And number 3, the minutes of the closed session of November 16th were presented and adopted as they were presented.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Therefore, we will go with the bylaw arising from item number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a motion that council approves bylaw 2020-158 for first, second, and third reading as follows. Being a bylaw for the purchase of property located at 215 Industrial Street in Embrun for $1 pursuant to the United Counties of Prescott Russell Resolution 2018-144.
Okay, thank you very much, Madame Camille-Laflamme. I need a mover and a seconder, please.
Mike Chernosky.
Oui. André.
Perfect, Councillor Tonoski and Conseil Brisson. Questions? If there's no questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Mike Chernosky, oui.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy So say yes.
Perfect. Item is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Next item is the confirming bylaw. That bylaw 2020-159 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Russell at its regular council meeting held on December 7, 2020, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Need a mover and a seconder, please.
Mike.
Councillor Tonoski and
Jamie.
Councillor Lorrain. Thank you very much. Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Mike Chernosky, yes.
André, oui.
Jamie, yes.
Cindy So say yes.
Thank you very much, everyone. That is passed. Our next meeting, a regular public meeting of council, will be held on Monday, December 21st, 2020, and we are adjourned at 9:36 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good
Good
evening.
night. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Bye-bye.